Chapter 11:10. 3 against 1. Shame on you. The Cloud Mist Country, no, the entire northern region has been disgraced by you. Fan Xiuju's face turned green as he shouted. Mao Hongdia's face was also pale and extremely unsightly. She was worried for Jiang Tian and said loudly, "How can you be so reckless? Fairy Luo, may I object?" No matter how powerful Jiang Tian was, he was not a golden core cultivator. His opponents were 2 golden core cultivators and 1 fake core cultivator. Even if Jiang Tian was made of iron, he could not crush many nails. Fairy Luo Mei turned a deaf ear to him and smiled. On the life and death ring. Zen Master Wuxin put his palms together and said politely, "Benefactor Xing Tu, please don't misunderstand. You are too murderous. Only one of us will fight while the other 2 will save the others. Benefactor, please choose one. Don't waste time. All 3 of you can come at me together." Jiang Tian's expression was calm as he spoke in a composed manner. "Damn you. Will you die if you don't act tough? Can't you play it safe?" Below the ring, Li Wuji slapped his thigh and wanted to cry. "My master likes to shock people with his words. If he doesn't act tough, he will die," Tang Linglong said with a serious face. Lady Wu and Yi Karen were speechless. They were so shocked by Jiang Tian that their jaws almost fell to the ground. They were not the only ones who were shocked. In fact, many of the overlords present were so shocked that they stood there motionless like clay statues. Celestial Master Xing Tu is too arrogant. He wants to fight against 3 top overlords alone. Do you know how to write the word death? Brat, you are too arrogant. After I kill you, I will take your 3 female companions as my slaves. Hearing this, Crown Prince Mo Yang was so angry that his lungs almost exploded. He stomped his right foot on the ground and threw a punch. Essence Qi erupted from his body. Boom. The shadow of an enormous elephant appeared behind him. Its 4 legs were like giant pillars, its head was like a mountain, and its trunk was like a river. It seemed to be able to sweep away the stars as it charged toward Jiang Tian. The divine elephant prison crushing mystic art. On this continent, many royal families worshipped elephants as gods. They comprehended the mighty power of elephants and created this mysterious technique. It was rumored that when cultivated to the peak, one could transform into 840 million small particles, and each particle could awaken a giant elephant with boundless strength. The divine elephant's baleful aura was also very strong. With a cry, it could subdue countless strange beasts and demons, trample on boundless hellish cages, and suppress countless devils and demon gods. Crown Prince Mo Yang was only at the first level of the Golden Core realm, but he already had the strength of 100 elephants. As soon as this divine elephant appeared, it raised its trunk and roared, stomping on the ground. In an instant, the void was torn apart. The immortal slaying stage trembled violently, and the entire Golden Lotus Mountain shook violently. The mountain rocks cracked, and the clouds dispersed. It turns out that Crown Prince Mo Yang is so powerful. Immediately, many people had a whole new level of respect for him. They were extremely shocked. Crown Prince Mo Yang was obsessed with women. He liked to fool around with women, indulging in pleasure and indulging in a life of luxury. As a result, people forgot that his cultivation base was abnormally strong. Now that he had unleashed his full strength, the crowd finally understood that his reputation as a genius was not to be underestimated. Immortal Master Xing Tu, since you are so confident, I will not hold back. Monk Wuxin let out a roar and took a step forward, throwing out a punch. Immediately his golden core true essence gushed out, and a volcano avatar appeared behind him. Black smoke billowed, flames raged and lava flowed. As he punched out, the rolling lava and the volcano turned into a Buddha made of flames and lava. The flames and black smoke burned the sky, and the Yong River under his feet started to boil. Clouds filled the air. Even though they were a kilometer away, the crowd could feel the scorching heat. Buddhist Sex Vajra subduing Demon Fist. Zen Master Wuxin sighed softly and punched down again. Immediately, the Lava Buddha also raised its fist and punched at Jiang Tian. The giant fist covered the sky and the sun, and it was extremely powerful. It smashed down like a mountain. The scorching wind from the fist made Jiang Tian's long robe flutter like a flag. 3,000 swords. As the Sword Palace's elite Lung Jianfeng shouted, the water droplets in the sky suddenly straightened and turned into thin swords. Many thin swords pierced, lifted, chopped, tapped, collapsed, hung, lifted, swiped, swept, parried, intercepted, flowed, circled, swam, and drilled. 17 different sword styles attacked Jiang Tian at the same time. At the same time, the mammoth phantom roared as it attacked, and with a stomp of its foot, it suppressed the heavens as if it could trample through mountains and rivers and crush fiend gods. In the eyes of the crowd, Jiang Tian was surrounded by danger. Jiang Tian was on the verge of death. How could Jiang Tian resist the attacks of 2 first-level Golden Core Elites and a fake Core Elite? No matter how strong he was not a Golden Core Elite. The strength of a Golden Core Elite was too strong compared to a Foundation Establishment Elite. Once a Golden Core Elite entered the Golden Core realm, their true essence would condense into a solid form and would be indestructible. They were on a completely different level of life. The difference between a Foundation Establishment Cultivator and a Golden Core Cultivator was like heaven and earth. Even if 10 or 100 Foundation Establishment Overlords attacked at the same time, they wouldn't be able to defeat a fake Core Elite. Scum will always be scum. Together, they're just a pile of scum. Jiang Tian grunted and stomped his foot. The light vermilion bird divine body was activated. He was able to resist the Dharma powers with his powerful divine body. Jiang Tian's body was surrounded by an infinite amount of light. He dodged the Buddha's palm and rushed towards the elephant. He jumped into the air and punched the elephant's neck. The fist wind was blazing fiercely, as if there were shadows of flames rolling about. Roar! The elephant let out a painful cry. Its mountain-like body flew into the air and fell into the abyss of the life and death platform. Then it shattered under the extreme heat. Behind Jiang Tian, boom! There was a loud noise and the earth shook. The lava Buddha's giant palm covered the ground and the array patterns on the life and death platform shone brightly. It was almost destroyed. What? Prince Mo Yang was hit by the Dharma power, and he was frightened. He staggered and retreated. He was already in pain from the Dharma power and spat out blood. It was obvious that he was severely injured and wouldn't be able to recover in a short time. Star Butcher, take my palm. Sunshine Demon destroying palm. Wuxian's attack missed and his companion was injured. He was furious and slammed his palm towards Jiang Tian. In front of him, the giant lava Buddha's giant palm was surrounded by flames and black smoke. It slammed down at the same time and enveloped Jiang Tian like a sun. At this moment, there was actually a Buddhist voice coming from his palm, from the magma Buddha's hand seal. The Buddhist voice was melodious and was accompanied by the rumbling sound of flowing lava. It was enough to suppress the supreme evil. You're too weak. Jiang Tian smiled faintly and stomped the ground. The life and death platform's formation patterns were being obliterated and melted, cracking open and revealing terrifying ravines. The violent vermilion bird true essence spread in all directions, and the 3,000 water swords behind it were vaporized. Lung Jianfeng's expression changed and he was stunned on the spot. The magma Buddha's hand exploded from the impact, and it trembled uncontrollably. Wuxian's face was filled with shock as he saw the lava Buddha in front of him explode with a loud bang. A long flaming saber that was 10 meters long fell from the sky and fiercely chopped at his head. Vajra Thunderbell. Monk Wuxin's heart was filled with warning signs. His eyes were about to split open. With a loud shout, the chi of vitality under his feet exploded and the straw shoes exploded. Golden true essence gushed out from the bottom of his feet like a fountain, forming a huge golden bell that glowed with golden light. Lightning swirled around it, forming symbols that crackled and rumbled chaotically. Thunderous sounds rang out, surrounding his entire body within a protective barrier. The Vajra Thunder Bell was an imitation of the 5 thunder heaven-raising bell of the Golden Rock Temple. It had both offensive and defensive capabilities, and was extremely powerful. It could even withstand a blow from a Golden Core expert. Clang! The vermilion bird fire saber hit the Vajra Thunder Bell, and made a deafening sound. Suddenly, the lightning was extinguished, and the huge golden bell was torn into pieces, flying out like a fairy scattering flowers. Oh no! Senior monk Wuxian spat out blood from the corner of his mouth. His expression changed drastically. He chanted the name of Buddha and flew backward like a big bird. Every step he took him a few hundred meters away, and a white lotus cloud bloomed under his feet. The white lotus Dharma throne lifted him up and allowed him to borrow strength, allowing him to unleash even more power. His speed instantly reached 10 times the speed of sound. The most advanced movement art of the Buddhism sect, cloud-treading lotus steps. However, he saw in desperation that flaming saber continued to extend, as if there was no end to it. It cut through heaven and earth as it slashed down. Slash! The vermilion bird's luminous flame saber cut through his head, penetrated his chest, and came out from his crotch. Jiang Tian landed and put away the saber. Everything became invisible. Great saber art. Great divine power. I can't believe there's such a... Zen Master Wuxia stood motionless in the air. He quickly pinched his fingers and chanted again and again. His eyes were full of shock, ecstasy, fear, and other complicated expressions. He seemed to be using some kind of divine power to resist the energy of the vermilion bird true fire in his body and stabilize his body. But before he could finish his sentence, there was an endless light in his head and chest, as if there was a small sun inside. The next moment, boom, boom. Monk Wuxian's head exploded, his chest exploded, and his limbs exploded. His entire body exploded and turned into ashes. Not even a complete bone was left. Chapter 11:11. Do you still want to fight? Jiang Tian turned back abruptly and looked at the sword palace expert, Lung Jianfeng. Lung Jianfeng had just formed 3,000 water swords and was about to launch a sneak attack when he met Jiang Tian's piercing gaze. He was so frightened that he shivered. Splash! Splash! The 3,000 water swords turned into water droplets and fell to the ground. Lung Jianfeng's knees gave way and he knelt on the ground. He shivered and said, "Junior's skills are inferior. I admit defeat." Lung Jianfeng, how can you kneel to a Yanhuang tribesman? How can such a lowly commoner be a match for me? You're not going to fight anymore? I haven't even used my moves yet. Crown Prince Mo Yang was not satisfied and shouted angrily, "I dare you to call me a lowly commoner again." Jiang Tian grabbed casually and his true essence exploded. In the void, a vermilion bird divine claw was formed. It was surrounded by flames and flew towards Crown Prince Mo Yang. "Open!" Crown Prince Mo Yang shouted and formed half a divine elephant to block it. However, it was crushed by the vermilion bird divine claw. In the next moment, he flew up uncontrollably and landed in the hands of Jiang Tian. His neck was grabbed by Jiang Tian's jade-white fingers. Impossible. How can this be? Crown Prince Mo Yang panicked and broke out in cold sweat. Where was his usual calmness and elegance of a young master in a chaotic world? At this moment, everyone on the Golden Lotus platform was stunned. Crown Prince Mo Yang was at the first level of the Jindan realm. He was extremely talented. The second divine elephant was destroyed by Jiang Tian with a raise of his hand. He was caught by Jiang Tian like an eagle catching a chick. Pa! Jiang Tian raised his hand and slapped Crown Prince Mo Yang's face. He shouted coldly, "Now who do you think is a lowly ant? Who is a lowly commoner?" Crown Prince Mo Yang was beaten until his skin and flesh were lacerated. Blood spurted from his nostrils. He flew out of the life and death platform and landed on the peak of the Golden Lotus platform. Star Butcher! Crown Prince Mo Yang rushed out with his hair disheveled. His eyes were bloodshot and his face was red. He shouted angrily, "How dare you hit me? I'm the Crown Prince of the Cloud Mist Country, the strongest person. No one can match me in this place." However, when he rushed out of the platform, Jiang Tian slapped him. Pa! No matter how he defended, what kind of divine ability he unleashed, or what kind of protective Dharma treasures he released, he was still hit in the face. With this slap, all of Crown Prince Mo Yang's teeth flew out. He rolled on the ground, blood spurting out from his 7 orifices. He almost fainted on the spot. Even with the protection of the strength of the hell-crushing god Mammoth, and the fact that he was in the early gold core stage, he still couldn't stand up to Jiang Tian's slap. "You!" At this moment, Crown Prince Mo Yang was both ashamed and angry. In a panic, he tried to fight Jiang Tian head-on with his physical body. He threw a punch at Jiang Tian. However, just as he stretched out his hand, Jiang Tian grabbed it and twisted it. Ah! A heart-wrenching, blood-curdling scream rang out. Prince Mo Yang's arm was easily broken like a twig. Prince Mo Yang, you disappoint me. Jiang Tian revealed a trace of ridicule as he sent Crown Prince Mo Yang flying with a kick. Crown Prince Mo Yang's cultivation base was strong, and his divine ability and Dharma spells were not bad. However, his combat experience was too poor. After his cultivation base was suppressed, his fighting style was like that of a street gangster. In fact, he was even worse than a monk. It was no wonder. Although Crown Prince Mo Yang had many experts by his side, he rarely fought. He was like a flower that grew in a greenhouse. Although he was beautiful, he was not tenacious enough. He lacked combat experience. I'm going to tear you into pieces. Crown Prince Mo Yang was in so much pain that his eyes were about to split open. Since his debut, he had considered himself a genius. Especially after he cultivated the strength of the hell-crushing god Mammoth. He could crush any opponent he met. He had prepared meticulously for today's competition, and was determined to win. He had never felt so defeated and humiliated like today. However, Crown Prince Mo Yang struggled to get up. Bang! Jiang Tian slapped down with his palm. The 100-meter-long giant palm formed by the vermilion bird's radiant flames descended from the sky, melting the runes on the array. Under this giant flaming palm, Crown Prince Mo Yang looked insignificant, like a speck of dust. This is impossible. You can't defeat me. Crown Prince Mo Yang roared, unwilling to accept the result. He stomped on the ground like a giant elephant, and his vital energy exploded. Rumble! An ancient giant elephant that looked like it was carved from green jade rose from the ground, as though it was going to support the blue sky. In the end, everyone looked on in shock. The giant flaming palm pressed down. No matter how Crown Prince Mo Yang struggled and counterattacked, using secret techniques and divine abilities, and even burning his blood essence, the giant flaming palm was not affected at all. In the end, the giant flaming palm crushed the giant elephant, and slapped Crown Prince Mo Yang into the ground. Following a series of painful howls and cracking sounds, Crown Prince Mo Yang's bones shattered inch by inch. His skin cracked, and he was about to die. Crown Prince Mo Yang, the strongest expert of the Cloud Mist country, was about to be slapped to death by Jiang Tian. Everyone felt their hearts jump as they sucked in a breath of cold air. All right, Immortal Master Star Butcher, you have won this round. Please stop. At this moment, a heavenly voice sounded. It was Fairy Luo Mei. She waved her hand and a burst of vital energy broke the giant flaming palm. Crown Prince Mo Yang was carried to the golden lotus seat. Brother! Crown Prince! Princess Yujiao and a few pretty maids recovered from the shock and helped him to sit down. They fed him sacred medicine and helped him to heal his injuries. Crown Prince Mo Yang was covered in blood and blisters from the burns. His face was dirty and his clothes were ragged, revealing his fair thighs. He looked like a beggar on the street. He was in a daze and his eyes were dull. His face was bleak and dejected, and he no longer had the confidence to challenge Jiang Tian. Immortal Master Star Butcher's skills are outstanding. His Dharma spells, divine abilities, and cultivation are all first-rate. He can be said to be the #1 expert in the Cloud Mist country in the past 10 years. Luo Mei is really impressed. Fairy Luo Mei swung her sleeves and stood up. Her face was solemn and respectful. She clasped her hands and bowed to Jiang Tian seriously. Then she smiled. If Immortal Master Star Butcher is interested, Luo Mei is willing to recommend Immortal Master Star Butcher to join the Changshan sect. You can start from the position of hall leader or elder. You can support each other and climb the path of immortality together. Hiss! Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air at the same time. Their hearts were palpitating with fear and disbelief. Fairy Luo Mei was already at the middle stage of the Gold Core realm. Her cultivation was heaven-defying and her vision was extraordinary. It could be said that there were not many people in the entire northern region who could catch her eye. Not only was this woman's cultivation formidable, she was also extremely discerning. Moreover, she was the inheritor and special envoy of a peerless great sect, and she possessed a lofty status. Even if the ruler of a kingdom met her, the ruler would have to treat her as a distinguished guest, and would be deeply afraid of neglecting her. But now, Immortal Master Star Butcher had won her over and made her bow to him deeply. Not only did she want to recommend him to join the Changshan sect, but she also wanted him to be a hall leader or elder. This meant that from now on, even the sect leader-level experts and the emperor of a country would have to kowtow to Jiang Tian and treat him with respect. This had never happened in the history of the Changshan sect. Reaching the sky in one step. This was simply unbelievable. Hearing this, Crown Prince Mo Yang was unwilling to accept this fact. But in the end, all the unwillingness in his heart transformed into a long sigh, and he lowered his head while a sense of loss covered his face. If I had known that he would join the Changshan sect, I would have tried to rope him in. I'm afraid it's too late to rope him in now. Luo Qi's eyes were wide open and her pretty face was full of disbelief. Then a sense of regret appeared in her heart. Alas, is Feng Batian going to die in vain? Mao Bilian murmured to herself in disappointment. But she could not change this reality, because once Jiang Tian joined the Changshan sect, the Mao family could not afford to offend him. They would not have the chance to make friends with him. At this time, someone suddenly came to his senses and stood up. He bowed deeply and said, Immortal Master Star Butcher's cultivation is so powerful that we admire him very much. We dare not compete with him. If you have any orders for us, we will do it without hesitation. We congratulate Immortal Master Star Butcher on defeating all the heroes and joining the Changshan sect. Senior Star Butcher's spiritual power is unfathomable, and his mystique is amazing. He deserves to join the Changshan sect. At this moment, all the prodigies, talents, and geniuses scrambled to stand up and bow respectfully with a humble expression on their faces. They were afraid that if they were a step too late, they would be called out and provoked by Jiang Tian. They would end up like Crown Prince Mo Yang, and their reputation would be ruined. Besides, if Jiang Tian joined the Changshan sect as a guardian or hall leader, he would be the most powerful person in the Changshan sect. In that case, he would have the greatest backing in the northern region. Who would dare to provoke him? Besides the top elders and guest elders of the Changshan sect, no one would be able to do anything to him. The crowd below the stage looked at the experts who could shake the entire northern region with a stomp of their feet and bow to Jiang Tian. They felt that they had never seen such a wonderful day in their lives. Ascending 90,000 miles in the sky, becoming famous in a single day. It can truly be said to be astonishing with a single brilliant feat. Reaching the heavens in a single step. A Yanhuang tribesman with such powerful cultivation. It's unbelievable. At this time, many descendants of the great sects, sons of the city lords, and descendants of famous sects were full of envy and admiration. They sighed in their hearts. Although they could not do it, they yearned for it. He looks very young. I wonder if he is married. Does he have a Dao companion? Many young ladies from famous sects, including Princess Yu Jiao, looked at Jiang Tian with admiration. Their hearts were filled with desire. Chapter 11-12. On the other hand, Jiang Tian stood on the life and death ring expressionlessly. To others, Feng Batian, Shou Lei, and the others were geniuses. Zongzi, Chengzi, Foundation Establishment, and Golden Core cultivators were all extraordinary. However, to Jiang Tian, they were just ants that he could crush easily. When he was in the heavenly realm, he had not broken through to the 4th level, and had not formed the light vermilion bird divine body. He had killed countless cultivators of this level, becoming an inner disciple of the Changshan sect. To others, this was a great opportunity, a chance to reach the heavens in a single bound. Being able to obtain this slot was naturally worth celebrating and ecstatic. However, Jiang Tian did not care about it. Getting the position of an inner disciple was just to make it easier for him to come into contact with the Changshan sect leader and kill him. When Jiang Tian flew down from the life and death ring and landed on the Golden Lotus platform. Congratulations, brother Xingtu. Perfected immortal Xingtu became famous after this battle. Congratulations. Mao Bohu, Fan Xiuzhu, Mao Hongdai, and the others all came over to congratulate him. Jiang Tian nodded slightly and greeted them. Only Mao Bilian was grumbling at the side, looking unhappy. Senior Xingtu, we should really celebrate today. The biggest restaurant in Maolin City, the Drunken Immortal Restaurant, is owned by my family. I will book the celebration banquet. Perfected Immortal Xingtu. My father would like to invite you to a banquet. Senior Xingtu, congratulations. Led by Luo Qi, the disciples of the Maolin city families who had looked down on Jiang Tian before also came over to congratulate him. They all wanted to mend their relationship with Jiang Tian. Senior Xingtu, I have a few questions that I don't quite understand. Please enlighten me. Especially Luo Qi. Her pretty and adorable face was filled with lust. Her watery and beautiful eyes were sparkling and filled with adoration. She held onto Jiang Tian's arm and rubbed her full breasts against him. It seemed that if Jiang Tian hooked his finger, she would take off all her clothes, wash herself clean, and climb into Jiang Tian's bed. Get lost. Jiang Tian's face turned cold, and his true essence slightly erupted. Luo Qi was shaken to the point that she stumbled back and sat on the ground. Her face was full of shame and grievance. Her eyes were red and she almost cried. Scram! Don't bother me. Jiang Tian didn't give the other young ladies of Maolin City any face. He didn't even bother to look at them. In the past, when Wu Gong had besieged him, Jiang Tian had saved him. In the end, only Mao Hongdai and Fan Xiuzhu had come to help Jiang Tian. Luo Qi and the others all drew a clear line between themselves and Jiang Tian. They ignored him and cheered for Jiang Tian's opponents, humiliating Jiang Tian in every possible way. Now, seeing that Jiang Tian had made a name for himself, his face changed faster than flipping a book. Jiang Tian couldn't be bothered with people like them. On the lecture platform, Fairy Luo Mei put away the life and death platform. It was still a stone the size of an inkstone. It was very mystical. She stepped on the moon like a fairy and said with a smile, Immortal Master Xingtu, please come to the Fan family's ancestral home tomorrow night. I've prepared some wine, and invite Immortal Xingtu and the other experts to a banquet. We'll go to the Changshan sect together. Her voice was like the sound of nature, pleasant to the ear. Her body was curvy and exquisite, and she emitted a musk and orchid fragrance. On top of that, she had a beautiful face and unparalleled charm. Anyone would be infatuated with her. Okay. Jiang Tian gladly agreed. Fairy Luo Mei looked at the dazed Mao Billion and said with a smile, Don't be sad, little girl Billion. Feng Batian isn't a good match. Xiuzhu has a chance to join the inner sect of the Changshan sect, and he's interested in you. Why don't you? Aunt, don't be impatient. Fan Xiuzhu's face turned red, and he was at a loss and embarrassed. Mao Bohu was indeed a formidable person. Although he knew that there would be a day when they would fall out with the Fan family, he didn't show it. Instead he said with joy, Okay. I, Mao Bohu, will be the first to support it. Mao Billion was also happy and said shyly, I don't have any opinions. I'll listen to the instructions of my parents. Everyone laughed heartily, and that bit of gloominess was swept away. Fairy Luo Mei looked at Jiang Tian, and her beautiful eyes shone. She asked, Immortal Xingtu, do you have a cultivation partner? Beside them, everyone froze on the spot as if they were struck by lightning. They were stunned and couldn't believe it. Fan Xiuzhu was even more uncomfortable, as if he was constipated. What's going on? Is Brother Xingtu going to become my uncle? I'm at a disadvantage. Jiang Tian didn't have time to speak. Beside him, Tang Linglong coughed softly and said, My master already has a cultivation partner. Moreover, the child is about to be born. Okay, I'll be waiting for Immortal Xingtu tomorrow. Fairy Luo Mei remained calm and revealed a faint smile as she floated away. With Fairy Luo Mei's departure, the lecture ceremony was also over. Soon, Crown Prince Mo Yang returned, escorted by a group of pretty maids, guards, and companions. Luo Qi and a few other talents from Maolin City also accompanied them. The talents, and experts on the Golden Lotus platform left one after another. They were shocked and fearful. They were shocked because Jiang Tian's cultivation was so unfathomable that they couldn't see through it. They were afraid because they had provoked and ridiculed Jiang Tian many times before. Would he take revenge on them? Luo Qi and Leng Jianfeng returned with Crown Prince Mo Yang. They were shocked and fearful, and their bodies were trembling. They were no longer as high-spirited as before. Xingtu is so cruel. He killed Feng Batian, Sholei and the senior monk. Do you think Windblade City, the Beast Trainer sect, and the Demon Cliff Temple will take revenge? Lung Jianfeng didn't have the confidence to provoke Jiang Tian anymore. He could only hope that their backers would take action. Revenge? Crown Prince Mo Yang snorted and said with a wry smile. Now that he has joined the Changshan sect, we will be grateful if he doesn't take revenge on us. Lung Jianfeng's face was full of bitterness. Originally, this competition had nothing to do with him. He had jumped out because he saw that Jiang Tian was too arrogant and despotic. But in fact, he had violated the rules of the competition. Because he was not an expert of the Yunlan nation, it would be normal if Jiang Tian took revenge on him. However, I don't think Xing Tu will have a good time even if he joins the Changshan sect. At this time, a disciple of a large sect rolled his eyes and said coldly, Crown Prince Mo Yang, have you forgotten? Feng Batian and Shou Lei seniors are all in the Changshan sect. Feng Duishan, Shou Rohai, and even the guest elders. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone's eyes lit up. Feng Duishan, Shou Rohai. Crown Prince Mo Yang squinted his eyes and murmured, I heard that the Changshan sect is going to hold a blood-bathing ceremony. When the time comes, they will challenge each other in the sect competition. I'm afraid Xing Tu will be torn apart by them. That is, an expert in the later stage of the Golden Core realm. Doesn't this mean that Xing Tu has just escaped the wolf pack and entered the tiger's den? Hearing this, Luo Qi and the others' faces changed drastically. It was as if they had seen a ghost. Originally, they were going to hold a farewell banquet to invite Jiang Tian, and use this opportunity to shake hands and make peace with Jiang Tian. They were determined to curry favor with Jiang Tian. Even if Jiang Tian humiliated and scolded them, they would hold their noses and suck up to Jiang Tian. They would apologize sincerely and offer a large amount of spiritual herbs, spiritual stones, and other cultivation resources. Then they would be able to bury the hatchet with Jiang Tian. In the future, they and even the families behind them would have a huge backer. But when they heard this, they immediately dismissed this idea. A gentleman would not stand under a collapsing wall. This perfected immortal Xing Tu seemed to be adding oil to the fire. But in fact, from the moment he killed Shou Lei and Feng Batian, he was destined to die. The guest elder of the Changshan sect, an expert in the later stage of the Golden Core realm, a disciple of a cultivation family, murmured with lingering fear. Ah, this perfected immortal Xing Tu is a talented person, but he doesn't know the principle of hiding his strength. He is too ruthless and merciless. He has attracted a powerful enemy. Luo Qi's clear eyes were filled with regret, gloating, and many other complicated emotions. She shook her head and said in a low voice, Chapter 11:13. Dear sisters, Mo Yang has caused trouble for all of you in the past few years. I have troubled all of you to take care of my daily life. It has been hard on all of you. After a moment of silence, Prince Mo Yang suddenly glanced at the group of girls and said emotionally, Prince, Your Highness. Many pretty maids and concubines were stunned and looked at each other. Prince Mo Yang was unrestrained and had never been so serious before. A trace of reluctance flashed through Crown Prince Mo Yang's clear eyes, but his handsome face gradually became firm. He said softly, But all good things must come to an end. Our fate has come to an end. From now on, all of you are free. You are no longer my maids. All of you can leave now. Prince, we are not willing to leave you. Your Highness, we are willing to stay with you and accompany you day and night. Many pretty maids and concubines knelt on the ground with tears falling like rain. They were reluctant to leave and begged for mercy. Let's go. The reason why I was so unrestrained and neglected my cultivation was because I thought I was a genius. Not many people in my generation could suppress me. Prince Mo Yang was dispirited and depressed. He said blankly, But after meeting Star Butcher today, I finally know what a real genius is. I finally understand the gap between me and a real expert. I want to cut off all my emotions and desires and focus on my cultivation. Prince Mo Yang's eyes gradually brightened. Obviously, the battle today had allowed him to grow rapidly. At this moment, his voice was sonorous and powerful, without the flippant tone from before. I want to enter the house of extraordinary warriors. I want to learn from everyone. 3 months later, I want to break through to level 2 golden core. Dear sisters, all of you should leave now. If fate allows, we will meet again. Princess Yu Jiao smiled and persuaded them. In one night, the battle seemed to have awakened her brother completely. There was more determination between his eyebrows. This transformation and growth made her happy. After Prince Emoyang and the rest left, the Mao family returned to Maolin City in their respective carriages. Jiang Tian and the rest were accompanied by Mao Bohu and Mao Hongdai. In the carriage, Mao Bohu's face was solemn as he said coldly, "There is no good banquet. I'm afraid Fairy Luo Mei is already suspicious of a mortal master star butcher." So fast. Everyone's expression changed drastically as they cried out in alarm. I know. Jiang Tian nodded slightly and sipped his tea leisurely. Then why did she want Xiaozhu to marry my sister? Mao Hongdai was filled with confusion and disbelief. The first reason is to confuse us and make us lower our guard. It was the same when she asked true immortal Jiang if he had a Dao companion. Secondly, it's to pave the way for us to seize Maolin City after we eliminate the Mao family. Mao Bohu's eyes were sharp. Originally, the Fan family had always wanted to seize Maolin City, and they also had the strength to do so. However, the Fan clan and Mao clan's relationship with each other is still there. Moreover, I've been kind to them all these years. This can satisfy their appetites and make it impossible for them to find a reason to attack me. But it's different this time. I'm friends with Kong Teichu, the thorn in the Chongqing sect's side. How could they be polite? After the Mao family is eliminated, Fan Xiaozhu will be the son-in-law of the Mao family. It'll be too easy for him to gather his former subordinates. Lady Wu of Yi Karen was shocked. She said in disbelief, Fairy Luo Mei looks like a fairy who has descended from the heavens. She's so pure and natural. How can she be so vicious? The special envoy of the Chongqing sect in the country has a higher status than the sect leader, and is second only to the elders. Jiang Tian sneered. She's only a mid-stage golden core cultivator. Do you think she's useless? She's ruthless and resolute. She's not inferior to any man. Yes. Mao Bohu couldn't help but exclaim at the thought of the bloody scene where she killed the city lord of Shilong City. He said uneasily, "It's very dangerous this time." Fairy Luo Mei was originally at the middle stage of the gold core realm. Furthermore, her coachman, Senior Kumu, was also an eminent monk. His strength was not to be underestimated. Furthermore, the power she could mobilize was not small. How many golden core cultivators can she mobilize? Li Wuji asked in a panic. She has at least 10 golden core cultivators under her command. The upper limit is the full strength of the Chongqing sect and 100 golden core cultivators. After hearing what Mao Bohu said, everyone's face turned pale. Li Wuji immediately wanted to cry. He asked, "My friend, may I ask if the teleport array outside Maolin City can be modified to return to Earth? Even if I have the means to modify it, it'll take me half a month to collect materials and build the array," Jiang Tian said. Li Wuji immediately beat his chest and stomped his feet. He was so regretful that his intestines turned green. "My friend, I didn't believe you. I shouldn't have come. It's great to be in the Kunlun sect. I can read the Yellow Palace when I'm free, play the zither when I'm free, and enjoy the company of the wind and the moon. I can also drink wine and talk with 2 or 3 fellow cultivators." Jiang Tian said he could kill golden core cultivators, but how could Jiang Tian be a match for 10 golden core cultivators at the same time? Don't agree just now. You know there are tigers on the mountain, but you still want to go there. Are you out of your mind? Li Wuji said angrily. Mao Bohu also looked solemn and uneasy. Tomorrow morning, Fairy Luo Mei would be able to set up an inescapable trap in the Fan family. She would have the upper hand and waited for Jiang Tian to come. It doesn't matter. We're here to fight a tiger. How can we get tiger cubs without entering the tiger's den? Even if the sect master of the Chongqing sect comes, so what? Jiang Tian's expression was calm and unhurried, as calm as a calm lake. Li Wuji was left in a mess in the wind. He wrung his hands and sighed, feeling extremely depressed. The next evening, Jiang Tian led Tang Linglong, Yi Karen, Lady Wu and Li Wuji to the Fan family's mansion. Mao Bohu and his 2 daughters accompanied them. The Fan family's mansion was even more magnificent than the Mao family's. There were many tall buildings and palaces, covering a few hundred acres of land. There was a guard every 5 steps and a guard every 10 steps, just like a small city. However, there were very few family members and servants, so it didn't seem very lively. Seeing this, Jiang Tian sneered and continued to enter. On the other side, Fan Xiuzhu and a few leaders and young talents of Maolin City had already arrived. When they saw Jiang Tian, Fan Xiuzhu and his father immediately came to welcome him. Fan Wantao's father, Fan Wantao, was wearing heavy armor and was tall. He said with a smile, "Welcome, perfected immortal Xing Tu, city lord, and all of you. It's an honor to have you here." He put Jiang Tian's name in front of Mao Bohu's. Apparently, he valued Jiang Tian more. "Haha, brother Fan, I'm afraid you have to change the way you address us. Call us in-laws." Mao Bohu laughed and was very affectionate. He was also a drama queen. Mao Billion blushed. Both of them had their own plans as they chatted affectionately, while escorting Jiang Tian to the central hall of the mansion. "Perfected immortal Xing Tu is here. Please forgive me for being late to welcome you." Fan Luomei, who had been notified, also came out to welcome him. She was elegant and had a smile on her face. Her charm was unparalleled. "I just arrived." Jiang Tian cupped his hands politely. Fan Luomei said, "Everyone, please enjoy the wine in the hall. I have something important to discuss with perfected immortal Xing Tu later." She was like a goddess who had descended to the mortal world. She was full of immortal qi, which made people feel refreshed and comfortable. She politely made a gesture of invitation and walked towards the back garden with light steps. Seeing this, Mao Bohu and Li Wuji's eyes flashed with a hint of worry. However, Jiang Tian's face was still as water. He said, "Yes, sir." After the 2 of them left, the hall was in an uproar. "Haha, Auntie called perfected immortal Xing Tu away alone. I wonder what she has to say?" Fan Xiuzhu said with a wink. "Yes. This is the first time I've seen Fairy Luomei so respectful to a man alone." Many experts and geniuses were astonished and curious. Fan Wantao laughed and said, "My sister is already 30 years old, but she still doesn't have a Dao partner. I heard that perfected immortal Xing Tu has a Dao partner. But which cultivator doesn't have 3 wives and 4 concubines? If true immortal Xing Tu can tie the knot with Fairy Luomei, then our 2 families will be even closer than before." Haha. Mao Bohu laughed heartily and seemed to be in high spirits. He forced himself to put on an act, but in fact he was already feeling uneasy. Li Wuji drank his tea quietly. His right hand, which was holding the wine cup, trembled slightly. Jiang Tian and Fan Luomei left the hall, passed through a few doors, and arrived at the backyard. This place was like the Taj Mahal. The trees were trimmed neatly like guards. The lawn was flat, and the pond occupied a lot of space. The pond water was clear. Jiang Tian shook his head when he saw this. In terms of landscape art, West Earth was really not as good as Wuxia. It lacked variety and was too boring. Fan Luomei chatted with Jiang Tian and accompanied Jiang Tian as they walked slowly. Today, she was wearing a brightly colored sarong. Her figure was indistinct, and one could vaguely see her perfectly round and slender thighs. Her chest was like billowing waves, and her skin was as white as snow. Her makeup was exquisite, and there was a red dot between her eyebrows. She wore big golden earrings, silver bracelets, jade bracelets, and long golden armor on her fingers. She was full of exotic charm. This woman was noble and otherworldly, but there was also a hint of charm that made one's heart itch. Suddenly, Fan Luomei stood still. She looked back at Jiang Tian and said with a smile, "Cultivator Xing Tu, should I call you Jiang Tian or Kong Teichu?" Chapter 11:14. The Changshan sect is indeed the 5th most powerful sect in the West Earth. You're very well informed. Jiang Tian didn't panic at all after his identity was exposed. His face was calm as he chuckled and said, "How did you find out?" "Fan Xiuzhu told you." "Fan Xiuzhu, that rascal, worships you like a real god. Why would he betray you?" Fairy Luomei stroked her hair and smiled. "It's just that every time the teleportation portal is activated, There will be violent fluctuations. I was in charge of monitoring the teleportation portal you went through. Besides, your background is mysterious. You have the ability to kill golden core cultivators, and you're from the Yanhuang tribe. Your first appearance was near the teleportation portal. If you're not Kong Teichu, who else could you be? But why did you join the Changshan sect? You're the ruler of Earth. Even I'm a little moved by you. I thought you participated in the battle on the Golden Lotus platform, because of me. As she spoke, her beautiful eyes flickered, revealing a hint of charm. However, her temperament was noble, cold, and otherworldly. Jiang Tian believed that as long as she curled her finger, not many people in this world could resist her fatal temptation. Hee, I came here to destroy the Changshan sect and find all the seeds of spiritual qi revival. The reason why I joined the Changshan sect is to take them by surprise. I know you have many followers, but you're all fools. I don't want to hurt the innocent. You won't refuse to lead the way for me, right? Jiang Tian said with a serious expression. Fairy Luo Mei was only a mid-stage golden core cultivator. In the eyes of others, she was a goddess, but in Jiang Tian's eyes, she was just an ant that could be killed with a flick of his finger. Ah, Taoist Taichu, you let me lead the way. Do you know that your life and death are in my hands? Your fate is in my hands. Fairy Luo Mei laughed as if she had heard the funniest joke in the world. Her laughter was crisp like silver bells. At this time, the elder called Gu Mu walked over, deep love and infatuation in his eyes. Then he bowed and said respectfully, Fairy Luo Mei, everything is ready. Yes. Senior Deadwood, thank you for your hard work. Fairy Luo Mei nodded slightly. The withered tree held a whip and obediently stood behind Fairy Luo Mei. Although Kumu was once an eminent monk who had tens of millions of followers, and his authority was comparable to that of a country's monarch. However, at this moment, before Fairy Luo Mei, he was like the most loyal servant. Cultivator Taichu, I know you're strong, but you're too arrogant. You're underestimating the longevity sect. Fairy Luo Mei was still smiling, but her face was no longer charming, and her eyes were ice-cold. At this moment, she seemed to be the special envoy of the longevity sect who controlled the lives of hundreds of millions of people in the giant cities of the Cloud Mist country. Whoosh, whoosh. Following a series of whooshing sounds, the figures of several experts arrived like rainbows. Each streak of light represented the arrival of a Foundation establishment powerhouse. For a time, many rainbows crisscrossed in the air, densely packed like a giant net. It was unknown how many experts would rush over this time. Swish, 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 swish. Overlords in the black clothes of the longevity sect appeared everywhere in the back garden. Some of these experts had heavy auras that were lofty like mountains. Some were violent like erupting volcanoes. Some were piercingly cold and sharp like treasured swords. Some were ferocious like primeval ferocious beasts that had been born into the world. And they were extremely bloodthirsty and emitted a dense and pungent smell of blood. These people were the patrolling agents of the longevity sect in many cities of the Cloud Mist country. In the past, they had intimidated a region, and were comparable to the noble city lords. Just them. Jiang Tian smiled disdainfully and shook his head in disappointment. There were hundreds of Foundation establishment overlords, and each of them was an expert who had experienced hundreds of battles, and whose hands were stained with blood. If any of them were on Earth, they would surpass Li Wuji and Kasayapa Guru. They would be able to control a country and a sect, and even a superpower like the United States would be wary of them. But if they wanted to besiege Jiang Tian, it would be no different from a fantasy story. Back then, Jiang Tian only had 3 divine bodies, but he was able to kill Foundation establishment overlords as easily as killing chickens on planet Tianxing. Thousands of Foundation establishment overlords had died in his hands. Besides, Jiang Tian already had 4 of the most powerful divine bodies at the moment. Although Jiang Tian was only at the 4th level of the Foundation establishment level, he had 4 divine bodies at the moment, and was as powerful as 4 golden core overlords with superior grade golden cores. Such combat power was invincible in this world. He could kill normal golden core cultivators like cutting grass, and even fight with nascent soul cultivators. That was why Jiang Tian dared to set foot in this world. If it's just them, I've underestimated Tai Chu. I heard that not only did he dominate Earth, but he also conquered the star dimension. Fairy Luo Mei smiled faintly. She was ethereal and otherworldly. Her bearing was boundless as she lightly clapped her hands. Swish, swish, swish. Another 10 experts descended. Some of them wore the golden robes of the Long Life sect, their appearances strict and strict. Some of them were the sect masters and sect masters of a few medium-sized sects, all of them brimming with the powerful aura of someone who had been in a high position for a long time. Their true essence was much more condensed than that of the previous 100 overlords. They were apparently 10 golden core overlords. The 3 leaders had even reached the mid-stage of the golden core level, which was comparable to Fan Luo Mei. Some of them are my close friends in the sect, some are guardians, some are sect masters and some are sect masters. Fairy Luo Mei's face carried a trace of arrogance as she said in a delicate voice, "They often fight with me. We can even kill a peak stage golden core overlord, if we work together. What do you think, Taichu?" So, Jiang Tian's expression did not change at all. The Changshan sect was indeed powerful. West Earth was comparable to the ruins of deity, and was much more powerful than Heavenly State. The overlords of the Changshan sect and the Yunlong country were almost as powerful as the entire Sacred Hall. And yet, Jiang Tian still didn't think much of them. "I know you're powerful. You're not only the top cultivator on Earth, but you can also destroy the Heavenly Star world. Apparently, you don't care about 100 Foundation establishment cultivators and 10 golden core overlords." Fairy Luo Mei was startled, then she cracked a smile. One of the Foundation establishment cultivators snorted coldly. It was obvious that he was not convinced by Jiang Tian. Even though Kasayapa Guru couldn't travel to this world, it was relatively convenient for him to send messages. Apparently, the Changshan sect had already investigated Jiang Tian thoroughly. Boom, boom. The ground shook and light shone. There seemed to be a giant dragon rolling under the ground, and violent energy was about to burst out of the ground. All of a sudden, bright beams of light shot out from the back garden in all directions. The light beams twisted and spread, forming a sky curtain in the sky. The stars on it flickered and flickered. It was very beautiful. Suddenly, red light spots appeared on Jiang Tian's forehead, chest and even legs. They were the array formation's aiming devices. Great overarching heavenly star formation. Jiang Tian put his hands behind his back and looked surprised. Then he nodded and praised. "That's more like it." The great overarching heavenly star formation was a very common offensive array formation in the cultivation world. It could gather the essence chi of heaven and earth to form a sky curtain and stars, enveloping the target like an inescapable net and releasing attacks. If the target wanted to break the array formation, they would need a lot of strength and time. And before they could break it, they would be like a turtle in a jar. Their range of movement would be extremely small, and they would be at the mercy of the other party. This kind of array formation was very common in the cultivation world. Jiang Tian had destroyed many of them in his previous life. Moreover, Jiang Tian had almost torn the sky star map in Heavenly State, so he naturally wouldn't take it to heart. The reason why he was surprised was that he didn't expect such an array formation to appear in West Earth. That's right. Fellow Taoist Grand Primordium is indeed knowledgeable. This is the great overarching heavenly star formation. Fellow Taoist Grand Primordium's background is mysterious, and his cultivation is unfathomable. I was very worried, so I traveled through the night to transfer this protective array formation from the sect and urgently set it up. I heard that fellow Taoist Grand Primordium could withstand cannon fire on Earth, but the light rays released by this array formation can kill all living creatures. It can cut through frost iron essence and pierce through mountains. I wonder if fellow Taoist Grand Primordium can withstand it? At this moment, Fairy Luo Mei finally revealed her trump card. Her greatest reliance and trump card was actually the great overarching heavenly star formation. Once this array formation was released, Jiang Tian instantly fell into an extremely dangerous killing trap. It could be said to be an inescapable net that couldn't be shaken or avoided. It seemed that Jiang Tian could only surrender and admit defeat. Fellow Taoist Grand Primordium, please do me a favor and admit defeat. Fairy Luo Mei's eyes shone with a cold light. She looked down at Jiang Tian like a high and mighty queen. plant a soul contract with me, follow me to the Chongqing sect, and become a disciple of the hierarch. I guarantee that you won't die, and you'll have great fortune. You'll be our agent on Earth. Then you can use my foundation on Earth to come to Earth and enslave the humans on Earth? Jiang Tian snickered and said, You'll be the biggest contributor to the Chongqing sect. And you are the greatest contributor to the Chongqing sect. You have the opportunity to be promoted to an elder, or even the vice hierarch. You will also receive supreme cultivation arts and endless cultivation resources, right? Chapter 11:15. Yes, isn't that great? Fairy Luo Mei took it for granted. Her eyes were filled with disdain as she said proudly, Earth is filthy. The humans on Earth were just a bunch of weak ants. It's your great fortune to be enslaved by the Chongqing sect. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. We will realize your sublimation and evolution. You don't agree? Seeing Jiang Tian's disdainful look, Fairy Luo Mei suddenly sneered. Don't think that you're so great just because you've conquered the star dimension. That's just a secret realm. Among the ruins of immortals, the stellar sky domain is just a level 4-dimensional world. There are only a few golden core cultivators and none of them are nascent soul cultivators. I've got more than 10 golden core cultivators under my control. Sigh, it seems like you've lost contact with Earth after Kasayapa Guru's death. Jiang Tian sighed leisurely. There was some regret on his face. He smiled bitterly and said, Did your sect master not tell you my true strength? Your strength? From what I've seen, you're at most a mid-stage golden core cultivator. How can you be our match? Fairy Luo Mei paused and then said proudly, My sect leader has been in seclusion for many years. He won't come out until the blood-bathing ceremony. His goal is to challenge the Golden Rock Temple's Tathagata. He won't even look at you, an ant from Earth. Seclusion? Jiang Tian was enlightened. He smiled and said, No wonder. If your sect leader knows that I'm here, he should come out and greet me. He shouldn't have asked you to provoke me. What do you mean? How dare you disrespect the Chongqing sect leader? Fairy Luo Mei was furious and scolded. In her eyes, the Chongqing sect leader was a genius who only appeared once in a few thousand years. He was like a real god. How could he be blasphemed by an ant like Jiang Tian? What I mean is that your horizons are too shallow. You have no idea of Jiang Taichu's strength and ability. Jiang Tian turned to face Fan Luo Mei and said word by word. If the leader of the Deathless sect knows that I'm here, she should kowtow and beg me not to annihilate your entire sect. If you knew my true strength, you wouldn't have offended me like this. Jiang Tian was currently dominating the 3 realms, and he was the ruler of the 3 realms. In particular, Jiang Tian had killed dozens of gold core powerhouses in the Heavenly Kingdom. He could even kill the nascent soul old monster, Qiliao. Such strength was truly shocking. Unfortunately, Fairy Luo Mei was still too young, and was too far away from the true upper echelons. She wasn't the master of a great sect, the owner of a famous mountain, or even an elder. She didn't know the top secrets, and she didn't know that Jiang Tian had already killed his way to the heavenly country, and annihilated everything. Her vision had always been limited to the Cloud Mist Kingdom. She was more adept at playing tricks, fighting for power, and ruling over the mortal world. She was only doing small things in this small area. Kong Teichu, it's time for you to die. I tried to persuade you, but you didn't listen. You're digging your own grave. Fairy Luo Mei was enraged. She could no longer suppress the anger in her heart. At first, she wanted to spare Jiang Tian's life for Fan Xiuju's sake. She didn't expect that this person would still be so stubborn and arrogant when he was already a turtle in a jar. Kill him. A Foundation establishment overlord shouted, and stomped his right foot. A fire dragon burst out from under his feet, and burned towards Jiang Tian. Haha, you're too weak to play with fire with me. Jiang Tian stomped his foot. The fire dragon was frozen on the ground like a dead snake, unable to move at all. How is that possible? The Foundation establishment overlord was stunned. Jiang Tian flicked his finger. Before he could dodge, a golden finger aura entered his forehead and came out from the back of his head with blood and brain matter. Kill. The death of this person was equivalent to blowing the horn to attack. Instantly, All the Foundation establishment overlords swarmed forward, using their ultimate techniques and leaping towards Jiang Tian like a swarm of locusts. Ants. Jiang Tian's eyes were filled with disdain. He leaped into the air and turned around, waving his fingers. Chi, chi, chi. They spread out in the shape of a fan, crisscrossing and stacking. They changed in an instant and were incomparably magnificent. They swept out in all directions, piercing and slashing wildly. It was as if a huge golden flower had bloomed in the sky. However, it was extremely sharp and dangerous. Chi, 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 chi. Cries of agony filled the sky. Countless people were torn into pieces and fell to the ground like a rain of flesh. With that attack, Jiang Tian killed 30 Foundation establishment overlords. How is that possible? Fairy Luomei was dumbfounded. Killing 30 Foundation establishment overlords in one attack was 10 times more powerful than Jiang Tian's combat power on the life and death ring. Swish. The grand overarching heavenly star array erupted. A dazzling golden ray of light erupted from the virtual star, piercing towards Jiang Tiandong. However, Jiang Tian didn't even try to dodge. He stomped his right foot, and his golden gung divine body erupted. He was like a golden Buddha, and that ray of light only left a weak scratch on his body. It was unable to harm Jiang Tian at all. What? Everyone's eyes almost popped out. The light attack of the Daluotian star array was much more powerful than the military lasers on Earth. It could easily penetrate mountains, cities, and Dharma artifacts. Killing golden core overlords was as easy as killing chickens. Even the true essence and body of a golden core overlord had to be killed. Attack. The 10 golden core overlords unleashed their essence chi at the same time and attacked. For a time, many strange phenomena appeared. Mountains fell from the sky and smashed down. Huge beasts rushed over and bit. Flames covered the sky. Ice arrows shot out explosively. They attacked Jiang Tian from all directions. Such an attack could severely injure an early-stage golden core overlord. Even sacred ancestor Qi Liao would have to be careful. But Jiang Tian didn't care. He grunted and activated his red bird divine body. Suddenly, rumble. One after another, blazing flames gushed out from Jiang Tian's dantian in a straight line, gushing out in all directions, constantly expanding and spreading. Meanwhile, Jiang Tian was like a god of fire. He stood in the air and spewed out endless true fire, destroying everything. The vermilion bird's true fire was of the utmost yang attribute, capable of refining the heavens and incinerating the earth. There was nothing it could not burn, even metal and iron. Who could stop it? Arg. The eyes of the 10 golden core overlords turned red. Then, their eyes were burned by a blinding white light. Tears flowed out of their eyes and blood flowed out. Everything turned black, and they lost their sight. Then they were engulfed by the red bird true fire, and their golden cores exploded. The fire was so terrifying that even their golden cores were turned into ashes. Perfected immortal, we've lost. Spare our lives. The other Foundation establishment overlords were scared out of their wits. They threw away their weapons and knelt on the ground to beg for mercy. Such a flame was too terrifying. It could even melt a golden core. How could they withstand it when they were still made of flesh and blood? But Jiang Tian didn't care. The fire surged out and filled the entire grand overarching heaven star array. From afar, it looked like a huge fireball. These flames are so terrifying? Fairy Luomei was dumbfounded. She wanted to escape, but she was already surrounded by the endless red bird true fire. There were flames all around her, under her feet and above her head. As far as his eyes could see, there was no way out. But the flames seemed to be controlled by Jiang Tian. They formed a barrier around her and the coachman, so that they didn't burn. Although she was anxious and broke out in a cold sweat, she didn't dare to rush out because she would die if she did. She only saw boundless vermilion bird primordial fire erupted from Jiang Tian's body, gushing out in all directions like a sea of fire, filling up the entire back garden. Countless people struggled and screamed in the flames, but their screams were short and stopped abruptly. They were instantly turned into a puff of smoke along with their Dharma artifacts, weapons and protective clothing. Nothing was left, not even ashes. One golden core after another cracked in the raging flames before exploding like massive fireworks. Colorful balls of energy shot out in all directions. She saw the dazzling flames take on all kinds of shapes. Some were like cages that trapped overlords, some were like swords and knives, some were like ancient beasts roaring and rampaging, and some were like dragons bearing their fangs and claws. They roared in the sky and opened their mouths to bite and devour. The red bird true fire destroyed everything, burned everything, and destroyed everything. Be it Foundation Establishment Immortals or Golden Core Perfected Immortals, they died under the burning of the red bird true fire before they could even scream. They couldn't even last a second. Instant kill. It was a complete instant kill. A massacre. A merciless massacre. In the twisting flames, the pond instantly dried up, and the trees turned into ashes. The hardened ground and rocks turned into lava that undulated like a sea of lava. Suddenly, a few poisonous dragon-like flames drilled into the ground. The flaming dragons disappeared in the blink of an eye, leaving behind huge holes. However, the holes were quickly filled by flowing lava. Bang, bang, bang. The ground shook violently and the lava surged. 100 meters underground. The foundation of the great overarching Heavenly Stars formation was destroyed by the flames. The formation structure was destroyed and there was a huge explosion. The ground caved in, creating huge craters. The surrounding pillars of light flickered a few times and suddenly dimmed. The great overarching Heavenly Stars formation in the sky was like a piece of paper that was instantly pierced through by the redbird true fire dragons. Then with a boom, it completely shattered. Whoosh! Jiang Tian waved his hand, and the torrential redbird true fire instantly gathered and drilled into Jiang Tian's dantian like a tired bird returning to its nest. In an instant, the smoke dissipated and the entire back garden was empty. All the experts had died an unnatural death. All that was left was billowing black smoke. The scorching hot lava was shivering as it flowed. Only the remaining flames on the ground were dancing nervously. Only Jiang Tian was left standing proudly in the air, looking down at the dumbfounded Master Kumu and the dumbfounded Fairy Luo Mei. I, Kong Teichu, am an ant on earth. My life is in your hands. I am a mid-stage golden core cultivator. I should bow down and admit defeat to you. As Jiang Tian looked at the trembling Fairy Luo Mei, he clasped his hands behind his back, and a mocking smile appeared at the corners of his eyes. Do you still think so now? Fan Luo Mei, you are really stupid and naive. Chapter 11:16. Grand Primordium. Fairy Luo Mei had a panicked expression on her face, and her legs went soft. She was unable to withstand the immense pressure. Even though she was the special envoy of the Cloud Mist Kingdom of the Changshan sect, and thought that she was powerful and shrewd, she was still scared and felt like her head was about to explode in front of Jiang Tian, who was as terrifying as an ancient fiend. Freeze! Jiang Tian waved his sleeves, and the lava instantly cooled and solidified, turning into flat ground. Jiang Tian landed on the ground and walked towards her. I told you you're ignorant and stupid. Jiang Tian looked at Fan Luo Mei mockingly and snickered. If you had any sense, you wouldn't have provoked me and killed yourself. The sect master of the Changshan sect is no match for me. It can be said that in the entire West Earth, there are very few who can fight me. Maybe only the one from the Golden Rock Temple on Mount Thunder is qualified. As for you, you're no match for me even if there are 100 of you. Fairy Luo Mei trembled and couldn't say anything. Her heart was filled with shock, fear, and regret. Jiang Tian had killed more than 100 Foundation Establishment cultivators, and 10 Golden Core cultivators with the true fire of the Red Sparrow. The great overarching stars array was broken like a piece of paper. Such peerless grace, how powerful, how terrifying, how terrifying. She finally understood why Jiang Tian was able to dominate Earth and suppress Star World. It was all because of his strength. In front of absolute power, all schemes and tricks were just a joke. No matter how many schemes you had, he would be able to destroy them with a single punch. Grand Primordium, don't kill me. Fairy Luo Mei wanted to beg, but Jiang Tian interrupted her. You've schemed against me. Give me a reason not to kill you. I'll give you 3 chances. I can mediate between true immortal Jiang and the Changshan sect and make peace. I can help you conquer the Cloud Mist country. You'll be the ruler of 100 cities and a few 100 million people. Fairy Luo Mei trembled and opened her mouth a few times before uttering these words that were full of pleading. Faced with the threat of death, she could only think from Jiang Tian's point of view and think of a reason not to let Jiang Tian kill himself. But she didn't even have the qualifications to be Jiang Tian's woman, servant, or disciple. Jiang Tian's strength was obviously far beyond the middle stage of the Golden Core realm, and he was close to the late stage of the Golden Core realm. There were only a handful of such experts in the West Earth dimension. They were already comparable to the masters of large sects. How could Jiang Tian put her in his eyes? Shake hands and make peace? Jiang Tian stood with his hands behind his back and sneered. I'm here to destroy the longevity sect, and you want me to make peace with them? You have 2 more chances. I know that the Cloud Mist country is not worth mentioning in your eyes. Fairy Luo Mei broke out in a cold sweat. She kneeled on the ground and said softly, the Cloud Mist country has been established for a long time, and has been operating in the West Earth for thousands of years. They have great influence and rich connections. There are many small and medium-sized sects that can be used as the foundation and resources to defeat the longevity sect. You want to destroy the longevity sect? This is not something that can be done in a day. The longevity sect's leader, Ming Rui, is not as simple as you think. Besides, even if you destroy the longevity sect, this place still doesn't belong to you, because you're a Yanhuang tribesman, and I can be your representative and represent the longevity sect to submit to you and help you take over the longevity sect. At that time, the entire North region will be your world. She spoke incoherently, looking at Jiang Tian's cold eyes. Suddenly she gritted her teeth, raised her tear-stained face, and begged for mercy, and humility appeared in her clear, beautiful eyes. She softly said, Luo Mei has never had a Dao partner, and I'm still a virgin. As long as you don't kill me, I'm willing to be your slave and let you do whatever you want. She was originally an otherworldly beauty with a figure that could topple cities. Her figure was exquisite and curvaceous. Now that she was kneeling down, her buttocks naturally stuck out, forming an alluring and round arc coupled with her shy, timid and pitiful appearance. It was likely that no man would be able to resist this fatal temptation. Fairy, how can you do this? To a lowly Yanhuang tribesman. Order the people in the hall to attack. We'll capture his companions. He'll have to surrender for fear of breaking the vases. Carriage driver Kumu's eyes were filled with despair. His body was trembling, and he felt like an idol that had collapsed. He muttered in a low voice. The original Fairy Luo Mei was high and mighty in his heart, like a goddess. But at this moment, she was so lowly and willing to be Jiang Tian's servant. Willing to be a servant of a Yanhuang tribesman. Kumu, shut up. Fairy Luo Mei suddenly felt that this person was extremely stupid. What's the point of saying all this? At least for now, he has already killed 10 Jindan experts and broken the Zenith Heaven star formation. He has the complete initiative. Our lives are in his hands. If you continue to speak rudely, aren't you courting death? Noisy. As expected, Jiang Tian's face turned cold, and he waved his hand. The vermilion bird's holy true fire spewed out and coiled around him like an angry dragon. Instantly, this old man did not even have time to scream before his Jindan exploded on the spot, turning into green smoke and ashes that dissipated. Fairy Luo Mei's entire body trembled. She was horrified. Jiang Tian smiled and said, I won't kill you, but you have to be valuable. From now on, you have to tell me everything you know and be loyal to me. Of course. Fairy Luo Mei's face was full of pleading. She said coquettishly, I'm willing to be a slave and serve the Grand Primordium True Immortal for life. Rest assured, True Immortal. I'm not at ease. You're not like Mao Hongdai, pure and sincere. Jiang Tian suddenly sneered and said, You're cunning and vicious. You have disloyal thoughts at all times. How can I be at ease? Fellow Taoist Grand Primordium, are you going to kill me? Hearing that, Fairy Luo Mei was so shocked that her face turned pale and her legs trembled. I won't kill you, but I need to put something in your sea of consciousness. Jiang Tian laughed. A soul devourer erupted from the small golden lake in the center of his forehead. A black, gelatinous feeler stretched out and burrowed into Fairy Luo Mei's mind. The immortal bone on her forehead contained a powerful divine sense that could block the divine sense attack of a late-stage golden core expert. However, it could not block the soul devourer for even a second. What is this? Fairy Luo Mei felt a black god fiend in her sea of consciousness, and could not help but turn pale. This god fiend was ferocious and terrifying. Its face vaguely resembled Jiang Tian's. It was indomitable and incomparably powerful, with torrential demonic qi. Her divine sense was as small as a speck of dust compared to it. Soul Devourer. Jiang Tian smiled and said, "Other than me, there are not many people in the universe who can get rid of it. It will accompany you for the rest of your life and constantly monitor your every move. Your thoughts and consciousness are no secret to me. Besides, this soul devourer can swallow all soul energy. Once you have disloyal thoughts, no matter how strong your divine sense is, you will be swallowed by it and become a walking corpse." It's so terrifying. Fairy Luo Mei's divine soul trembled and cold sweat poured out. She hurriedly bowed and said, "Master, don't worry. I'll be loyal and will never betray you. Let's go to the hall and talk to them. Don't let them worry there." Jiang Tian walked to the front yard. Chapter 11-17. In the hall, Li Wuji, Mao Hongdai, Mao Bohu, and the others were all very anxious. Jiang Tian went to the backyard. That place was dead silent. Not a single sound could be heard. They knew that a soundproof restriction must have been used. The battle between Jiang Tian and Fairy Luo Mei had already broken out. Mao Bohu could not hold back, and was about to attack when he saw Fairy Luo Mei and Jiang Tian walk in. "Luo Mei, you just..." Fan Wentao exclaimed. Fairy Luo Mei was a few steps behind Jiang Tian. She bowed slightly and lowered her head like a servant. He had never seen such a scene before. Mao Bohu and the others were overjoyed. This meant that Jiang Tian had won and successfully suppressed Fan Luo Mei. Fan Luo Mei stroked her hair and looked around. She smiled and said, "A few enemies invaded just now. Fellow cultivator Xing Tu helped me defeat them." "I see. Senior Xing Tu is indeed extraordinary." Many family heads and patriarchs were suspicious, but they did not dare to ask. They still gave him a thumbs up and praised him crazily. "Everyone, please take your seats. This is the day of the marriage between the Fan family and the Mao family. It is also a farewell banquet for Senior Xing Tu and Hongdai. I hope everyone can return with joy." Fairy Luo Mei forced a smile and greeted everyone. Everyone returned to their seats and started the banquet again. Jiang Tian was led to the seat of honor by Fan Luo Mei and sat in the middle. She sat down and accompanied Jiang Tian, pouring wine and dishes for him from time to time. She served him well like the most considerate servant. Everyone was surprised and could not believe it. Mao Billian's eyes almost popped out. Jiang Tian was not interested in eating with them. The banquet lasted for half an hour before Fan Luo Mei dismissed everyone. At this time, only the people of the Fan family, Jiang Tian's companions, and the father and daughter of the Mao family were left. Fan Luo Mei glanced at everyone and said softly, "Now I am true immortal Zhang's subordinate. The Fan clan should no longer have any thoughts of disobedience. We will forever be the vassal of the Mao clan, and we will be loyal and devoted without any objections. True immortal Jiang. Could Senior Star Butcher's surname be Jiang?" Fan Xiaozhu's face was filled with confusion. He still didn't know what was going on. Fan Wentao smiled bitterly and bowed deeply to Mao Bohu. "Big brother Mao, true immortal Jiang, we did plan to kill you. It was all my fault. If you want to punish us, then punish us however you want." He was also a straightforward person. Since the operation had failed, he might as well admit to it all. "Kill him or cut him up as you wish." Fan Xiaozhu was shocked. He said blankly, "What do you mean? I don't understand. Didn't our two families just get engaged? Aunt also admires Senior Xing Tu and has a good impression of him. Could it be that Auntie's love turned into hatred after being rejected?" A ridiculous idea suddenly emerged in Fan Xiaozhu's mind. Fan Luo Mei smiled bitterly. Jiang Tian looked at Fan Xiaozhu and smiled faintly. "Xiaozhu, I have no reason to hide it from you now. I am the sect leader of the Tianqing school on earth, Kong Teichu." Clatter. The teacup fell to the ground and shattered. Fan Xiaozhu's face changed, and he almost fell on his butt. Jiang Kong Teichu. You are from Earth, and you have reached Jindan battle power. Fan Xiaozhu said in a trembling voice. He was shocked and afraid. What was shocking was, ever since he had met Jiang Tian, his impression of him had been refreshed again and again, and his worldview had been turned upside down again and again. Originally, the Yan Huang tribe had found it difficult to make a name for themselves in West Earth. They were basically mortals. But Jiang Tian had killed so many elites at the life and death arena, and become a personal disciple of the longevity sect. This was enough to shock him. And now, hearing this news, his worldview was completely shattered. A member of the Yan Huang tribe was actually able to cultivate to the late Jindan realm before the age of 30. And on Earth, where spiritual qi was severely depleted, what he was afraid of was, previously, he had looked down on Jiang Tian because of his identity as a Yan Huang tribe member. He was also afraid of trouble, and wanted to distance himself from Jiang Tian. But later his aunt, the special envoy of the longevity sect, had returned. His courage had been boosted, and he had walked closer to Jiang Tian. If he had stood on the wrong side, like Prince Mo Yang, Sholei and Feng Batian, he would have died a violent death long ago. He had brushed shoulders with the Grim Reaper. Thinking of this, he was terrified, and his heart almost exploded. Cold sweat broke out on his forehead, and his face was as white as a sheet. Jiang Tian sipped his tea and smiled faintly. Fan family head, you and I have no quarrel. You want to kill me because of my identity. After all, you and I belong to different camps. Now that your sister has decided to follow me, she is one of us. Let bygones be bygones. Jiang Tian fiddled with the tea leaves in the teacup, leisurely glanced at Fan Xiaozhu, chuckled and said, moreover, although Fan Xiaozhu has a bit of a young master's temper, deep down in his bones he is quite loyal. He has protected me many times. I can still distinguish good from bad. True immortal Jiang's heart is truly open, just like the moon and the breeze, truly admirable. Fan Wantao did not expect Jiang Tian to let him go so easily. He immediately knelt before Jiang Tian. Mao Hongdai looked at her with admiration, and asked curiously, who did Senior Luo Mei invite? Did Skeleton Coachman make a move? He did not even have time to make a move before he was burned to death by true immortal Jiang. Fairy Luo Mei regained her composure, and said with a bitter smile, I think my connections are not bad. I invited more than 100 Foundation establishment cultivators, and 10 of them were Jindan experts. When she said this, the whole place was dead silent. Everyone was dumbfounded and could not believe it. I thought I was smart and had a lot of plans. I even set up the grand overarching star array. Unfortunately, it was also destroyed by true immortal Jiang. Fairy Luo Mei looked at Jiang Tian with a face full of reverence. She lowered her head and sighed softly. STTH. Mao Bohu was terrified. His eyes almost popped out. He took a deep breath and said, fellow Taoist friend, the grand overarching sword array. Fellow cultivator Taichu, this is the mountain protection array of the Changshan sect, which is said to be able to crush golden core cultivators and kill nascent soul cultivators. And yet, you destroyed it. Even the grand overarching sword array was destroyed. When everyone heard this, they were all shocked by Jiang Tian until they were numb, unable to utter a single word. Senior Grand Overarching Sword Array, Luo Mei did not tell the sect that you came to West Earth because she wanted to take all the credit. Apart from those who were killed, no one in the cult knows about it. Fairy Luo Mei broke the silence and said softly, if that's the case, I think the plan to destroy the Changshan sect should be planned carefully. There's no need to rush. Jiang Tian, on the other hand, was completely at ease. Fairy Luo Mei, the biggest reason I didn't kill you is that you're going to take me to the Changshan sect tomorrow. What? So soon? Fan Luo Mei was terrified and said with a trembling voice, fellow Taoist Taichu, we have to be careful. Do you know what will happen to us if the Changshan sect finds out? Why? Do you think I'm not a match for the sect master of the Changshan sect? Jiang Tian narrowed his eyes and said with a half smile, fellow Taoist Taichu, you have no idea how powerful Ming Rui is. Fan Luo Mei's face turned pale, and she clenched her fists, but her body was still trembling uncontrollably. Do you know that although the Changshan sect has thousands of years of history, it was only a third-rate sect 500 years ago? It wasn't even as good as the Beast Trainer sect. Not to mention dominating West Earth and intimidating the North. Even Changshan sect is far inferior compared to a giant city. I know. Jiang Tian nodded. That was indeed the case in Kasyapa Guru's memory. At that time, the Changshan sect was still very weak. But the current sect master, Ming Rui, is the one who revitalized the Changshan sect. She's known as the sect master of the Changshan sect. Fairy Luomei was shocked and said with a trembling voice, it was her who single-handedly pushed Longevity sect from a mediocre sect to the position of the fifth orthodoxy in West Earth. She once created the 3 laws of Changshan and activated the vitality of the Changshan sect. The disciples of the Changshan sect were united and they advanced bravely. They gradually became the general trend. What are the 3 laws of Changshan? Jiang Tian asked. The first law of the Changshan sect is that all disciples of the Changshan sect should devote their lives to the path of cultivation. They should work tirelessly day and night, regardless of life and death, to reach the peak of cultivation together. Fairy Luomei's face turned solemn as she said in a low voice. The second law is that if anyone tries to stop us, we must be fearless and heartless. Even if they are deities, we must kill them to prove that the Changshan sect is invincible. The third law is that the disciples don't see the temptation of fame and wealth. They don't listen to the coercion of authority. They don't care about the old rules of filial piety. They are unfettered and seek their own Tao in the world. This is the 3 laws of Changshan. In the Changshan sect, there is no difference between sex, status, family, or love. Everyone is focused on cultivation and pursuing the strongest. No matter who it is in the sect, they can challenge higher-level disciples at any time. If the challenge is successful, not only will they be innocent, they will also be rewarded. The loser's position, cultivation arts, resources. Everything belongs to the winner. As long as you are strong enough, you can become a legend, or even a legend. You can even sit on the seat of the sect leader and rule over the 5th Cultivation Corporation in West Earth. That is the position closest to being invincible in this world. Crazy. The martial demon lady, Yi Karen, Tang Linglong, and the others were dumbfounded. Their divine souls shook violently, and their faces were filled with disbelief. Even Li Wuji was stunned. Chapter 11:18. Is the goal of cultivation to be the strongest? They don't even hesitate to kill their own sect members in order to become the strongest? Li Wuji was also shocked. The Kunlun sect emphasized peace and tranquility, detachment from worldly affairs, and indifference to fame and fortune. The positions in the sect were determined on the basis of seniority and seniority. Through the discussion of the elders, the positions were decided. Although the disciples fought for power and profit, it was inevitable that there would be some small conflicts. But generally speaking, they were quite friendly and harmonious. This kind of fight between fellow disciples and fratricide had never happened before, including the current sect master Ming Rui. Since the 3 laws of longevity were promulgated 500 years ago, every sect master of the Changshan sect had become the sect master after killing the previous sect master. This is a good tradition of the Changshan sect, and is greatly encouraged. Otherwise, it would be unjustified. Fairy Luomei's words were shocking again. What? Everyone cried out in surprise, dumbfounded. Even Mao Bohu, Fan Wantao, and the others were astounded. It was the first time they had heard of such ironclad rules. If the Tianqing school adopted such rules, who should I challenge? I would never dare to challenge my master and his wife. I can challenge Huang Linger, but to kill her? Many thoughts flashed through Tang Linglong's mind. Suddenly, she felt a chill in her heart and shivered. Although she hated Huang Linger, Sasaki, and the others to the core, she absolutely couldn't kill them. Yes, lunatics. But in my opinion, this is the highest praise for them. However, Yi Kuren raised her eyebrows and said with a look of fascination, only such lunatics can make progress bravely and climb the supreme path to immortality. Maybe we are so mediocre because we lack a bit of stubbornness. Li Wuji said with a half-smile. However, these rules are somewhat similar to the Tianqing schools. Tianqing school also doesn't care about seniority. It only cares about strength and achievements. The capable ones will be promoted, and the mediocre ones will be relegated. Tianqing school has the same rules. Yi Karen looked at Jiang Tian in disbelief. The rules of this sect were poles apart from those of the Kunlun sect. One needed to be extremely tenacious, extremely rational, and even more so, great talent and great strategy. The three rulings of longevity are domineering. Only by being magnanimous can one reach the ultimate realm. Jiang Tian nodded slightly and exclaimed in admiration. Although the Chongqing sect's cultivation methods are evil and cruel, the founder of the sect and the person who set the rules is indeed a talented and brilliant man. Fellow Taoist Wuji is right. Tianqing school is the same. Back then, I also wanted to implement this kind of challenge system. It doesn't care about seniority or background, only strength. The strong are respected, and the weak are inferior. This is to urge the disciples to advance bravely. But Tianqing school is surrounded by enemies from all sides, and the fighting is endless. The school's challenge system has not been implemented, and the assessment is mainly based on external military achievements. Well, that's right. There's less internal conflict and more opportunities for the disciples to grow and improve. Li Wuji sighed. I wonder what kind of person the current sect master of the Chongqing sect is. Jiang Tian narrowed his eyes. He was looking forward to meeting the sect master of the Chongqing sect, whom he had never met before. Fairy Luo Mei sighed and then said in a trembling voice, when the current sect master, Ming Rui, came up with the three rulings of longevity, he was only a 20-year-old outer sect disciple. His cultivation was only at the first level of the foundation establishment level. But the three rulings of longevity were approved by the sect master at that time, and they have been upheld to this day. After the three rulings of longevity were established, the sect was immediately revived. Ming Rui also created the blood-body exchanging art. Isn't the Chongqing sect proficient in cultivation methods of possession? Jiang Tian frowned and asked, but this cultivation method doesn't sound like a cultivation method of possession, does it? It's not a cultivation method of possession, but it's 10 times more evil than possession. Of course, the effect is also 10 times more powerful. Fairy Luo Mei didn't seem to want to talk about this. She sighed and said, Ming Rui announced this cultivation method in the sect. Anyone can practice it and improve it together. Hearing this, Lady Wu exclaimed again, cultivation methods can't be passed down easily. She's actually willing to announce this cultivation method? In the cultivation world of the earth, cultivation methods were even more precious than elixirs and dharma artifacts in the eyes of the cultivators. Almost no one was willing to teach their family's cultivation methods to outsiders, for fear that their disciples would starve to death. There were even strict rules such as only passing it down to males and not females. Secretly learning the cultivation methods of other families or sects would be treated as a serious crime. It was even more serious than digging up someone's ancestral grave. But Ming Rui had actually announced a cultivation method. This is the magnanimity and breadth of mind that a peerless sect should have. In other words, only this way can a peerless sect be nurtured. Jiang Tian's face was full of admiration. Then he revealed a mocking expression and said, cultivation methods can't be passed down easily? Demonis, you've also seen the real cultivation world. There are many killings, and human lives are like grass. People die at the slightest move. Let me ask you, what if there are only 1 or 2 teachers and 3 to 5 disciples in a cultivation method? What if they're all killed? The cultivation method will be gone. Lady Wu and the others were shocked when they heard this. Thinking about it carefully, it was indeed so. Many powerful cultivation methods on Earth had already withered and been cut off. The depletion of spirit chi was one of the reasons. But the more important reason was, in many cultivation sects, the leaders and seniors treasured their cultivation methods for themselves. They were afraid that the cultivation methods would be leaked, and were unwilling to expand the scale of the cultivation methods. Or they were worried that their disciples would surpass them and challenge their authority. Thus, they were unwilling to teach their disciples the true cultivation methods. If the cultivation methods were too small and weak, They could not withstand the flames of war and the ups and downs of history. Soon, they would be annihilated in the long river of history. Treasured their cultivation methods? The Grandmaster hit a few moves, the Grandmaster kept a few moves, and the Master gave a discount. In the end, even if the cultivation method was lucky enough to survive, what was passed down was only 30 to 40% of the cultivation method itself. It was bound to be worse than the previous generation, and worse than the previous generation. Wealth, companions, cultivation methods, luck. There are many factors involved in cultivation methods. But to a cultivation method and cultivation method, humans or cultivators are the most active and important factor of all the cultivation methods. Jiang Tian took a sip of tea and chuckled. That's right. If the cultivators are gone, what cultivation methods and cultivation methods are there to talk about? What's the point of having cultivation methods and pills? A true cultivation method and cultivation method is bound to pursue a certain scale. On the basis of accepting disciples, the cultivation method can select and nurture the most elite disciples and strengthen the cultivation method. In addition, there are many benefits to publicizing the cultivation methods. Cultivators should not only focus on the master, the book, or the superior. They should focus on the truth and the Tao. Who can say that the cultivation methods created by the ancestors must be perfect? Who can say that the ancestors are smarter and wiser than the descendants? If that's the case, then wouldn't each generation be worse than the previous? We will never be able to surpass our seniors. In fact, cultivation methods are also a process of evolution and improvement. Ancient cultivation methods may not be as powerful as today's. Cultivation methods are only theories to strengthen the human body. Theories must be tested and verified by practice. It's very simple. We just have to change it. Juniors should start from the perspective of cultivation methods. They should be brave enough to challenge the cultivation methods of the seniors. Only by doing so can the cultivation methods be more perfect and powerful. Ming Rui publicizes the cultivation methods and mobilizes the cultivation methods of the entire cultivation method. Tens of thousands of cultivators will pool their wisdom to cultivate, study, and improve the cultivation methods. This will strengthen the cultivation methods to perfection in the shortest time possible. In the end, Jiang Tian said with emotion, the female sect master of the Changshan sect is indeed extraordinary. She is not inferior to men at all. Jiang Tian's words caused Li Wuji, Yi Karen, and the others to feel as if they were suddenly enlightened, and their hearts shook as they were extremely shocked. True deity Jiang is right. Listening to you is better than reading books for 10 years. Li Wuji slapped his thigh and sighed. No wonder he was able to promote the Tianqing school to the top in the world in less than 5 years. Yi Karen, Lady Wu, and even Fairy Luo Mei were also impressed by Jiang Tian. Jiang Tian was powerful, and it was important for him to master the cultivation methods. However, his broad vision, broad-mindedness, and deep insight in the construction of the sect were also indispensable. With this cultivation method, Ming Rui's cultivation level skyrocketed. She formed the golden core in 100 years. In the next few hundred years, she made great progress and reached the peak of the golden core level at a record-breaking speed. She is only one step away from the nascent soul level. Seeing that Jiang Tian didn't say anything else, Fairy Luo Mei continued. She has never been defeated in the cultivation competitions of the Changshan sect. She rose through the ranks step by step, from an outer sect servant, to an inner sect disciple, to an elite disciple, to a personal disciple, to a hall master, to an elder, and finally to the position of sect leader. 200 years ago, when she became an elder, she single-handedly swept through more than a dozen sects in the northern region, including the beast-controlling sect, the Windblade City, the Eternal River sect, and so on, within 3 days. Even though these were only ancient legends, Fairy Luo Mei's face was still filled with fascination when she spoke of them. Her heart was in turmoil as she said with a trembling voice. In fact, she even single-handedly suppressed 4 golden core imperial preceptors from the 4 great nations in the north. From then on, the Changshan sect's religious power and the royal power of the great country's secular king became the supreme ruler of the northern region. She subdued so many countries with her sword and pushed the Changshan sect to become the top sect in the northern region. This woman's peerless demeanor and domineering methods are somewhat similar to fellow cultivator Taichu's. Li Wuji exclaimed. Yi Karen, Lady Wu and Tang Linglong were shocked and couldn't calm down for a long time. They were definitely the most outstanding people among the younger generation on Earth. But compared to Ming Rui, the sect master of the Changshan sect, they were like grains of light that couldn't compete with the sun and the moon. She suppressed the northern region with a sword and overturned the royal power of the mortal world, controlling billions of territories. How domineering was this? What kind of amazing talent was this? What kind of peerless elegance was this? Ming Rui's power is terrifying and earth-shattering. She's the top cultivator in the northern region and the fifth overlord in West Earth. She's comparable to the Golden Rock Temple's Buddha. Fan Luomei was so anxious that her face turned pale. She was already speaking incoherently. Her power and cultivation arts are far beyond our imagination. Rumor has it that she's only half a step away from the nascent soul level. She can break through at any time during the battle. Cultivator Taichu, do you really want to die? If you go, you only have a 1 in a billion chance of winning. Fan Luomei's expression was solemn. Her beautiful eyes were filled with worry as she spoke earnestly. Chapter 11:19. Fan Luomei was not the only one who was worried. In fact, Mao Bohu and his daughter, Fan Wantao, and Fan Xiuzhu all felt that Ming Rui was too powerful after hearing about her deeds. It was too risky for Jiang Tian to go straight in. Senior Absolute Primordium, since your identity hasn't been exposed yet, why don't you endure hardships as a personal disciple and do your best for Ming Rui? I think you'll definitely be able to obtain Ming Rui's trust in 3 to 5 years. Fan Xiuzhu made a throat-slitting gesture, which meant that he was waiting for an opportunity to assassinate her. In fact, with Fairy Luomei's protection, we can kill the current Mo family of the Cloud Mist Country and replace them. Then we can use the Cloud Mist Country as our foundation to recruit soldiers and buy horses. We can also form an alliance with other peerless sects. In 10 or 20 years, we might be able to suppress the Changshan sect. Fan Wantao also had his own idea. He wanted to start with the secular imperial power to establish a foundation and destroy the Changshan sect. Don't worry. She's just a little girl who practices an evil cultivation method. She might not be my match. Jiang Tian smiled and didn't take it to heart at all. Ming Rui's strength was obvious to everyone. The more they studied Ming Rui's information, the more frightened they were. She was a peerless sect master who had dedicated her life to cultivation and pursued the peak of cultivation. She had revitalized the Changshan sect with her own strength. She could be said to be a great talent and bold vision. There were even rumors that she had secretly fought with the sect masters of the Tingyu Tower, the sect of Fire, and the Hahuan sect, and they were evenly matched. That was too terrifying. This proved that Ming Rui still had a trump card that no one knew about. It was even possible that she could sublimate and break through during the battle. However, Jiang Tian was like an arrow on the bow. He had to shoot. Now Jiang Tian had to find the spiritual qi recovery seed to enrich Qinger and his baby daughter's physiques and save their lives. In the future, Jiang Tian still had to find earth element and other heavenly treasures to form a divine-grade golden core, which would lay a solid foundation for the possible invasion of the ruins of deities and the multidimensional worlds. Even further in the future, 1,000 years or even 100 years later, the entire Milky Way, including the multidimensional worlds, would usher in an apocalyptic disaster and be turned into a vacuum of nothingness. Jiang Tian had to change the course of human civilization and open up a new path for civilization. He had to realize the advancement of technology and cultivation at the same time and achieve a great leap forward for civilization. Only in this way could the human civilization on Earth and the other multidimensional worlds have a chance to survive and develop. Since fellow Taoist Grand Primordium insists, I naturally have to support you. However, he had to be careful. If we don't have the confidence to win, let's escape from the Chongqing denomination. Seeing how relaxed Jiang Tian was, Fairy Luomei's pretty face turned grave. She sighed softly and became even more uneasy and worried. No matter how strong Jiang Tian was, he would only stop at foundation establishment. He was already a genius who could exert the combat power of a golden core cultivator. How could he fight with a cultivator of the nascent soul level head-on? However, Fan Luo Mei had already made a soul-swallowing contract with Jiang Tian. She had secretly tried to destroy the soul-swallowing fiend several times, and even activated the divine sense of the deity bone in her forehead, but to no avail. Now it seemed that she had already boarded Jiang Tian's pirate ship, and had no better choice. After discussing some more details, everyone left with their own thoughts. Brother Bohu, I'll take Red Butterfly and Billion to the Chongqing denomination tomorrow. After returning to the Mao family, Jiang Tian smiled and said, Don't worry, Red Butterfly. Red Butterfly will not be in any danger. Even if it's a dragon's pool or a tiger's den, I will protect her and bring her back in one piece. There was a trace of reluctance and worry in Mao Bohu's eyes. In the end, he heaved a long sigh and bowed. Senior Grand Primordium, if it weren't for you, Red Butterfly and the entire Mao family would have been doomed to be homeless and even destroyed. With your help, at least we still have a glimmer of hope. No matter what the result is, I have to thank you. No need to thank me. I have one more thing to ask for your help. Jiang Tian smiled faintly. Senior Grand Primordium, please speak. Mao Bohu said respectfully. Fan Luo Mei has already issued a secret order. All the major cities and sects in the Yunnan nation are to stop pursuing the Yanhuang tribe, Jiang Tian said. But I'm still worried. After all, the massacre of the Yanhuang tribe was the order of the Chongqing denomination's leader. There might also be sects and cavalry from other countries coming to the Yunnan nation to hunt down the Yanhuang tribe. This is not something that Fan Luo Mei can control. Don't worry. Mao Bohu gritted his teeth and said passionately, I have 1,000 personal guards under me, and they are all loyal to me. I will lead them to rescue the Yanhuang tribe. Maolin City will also open the doors to the Yanhuang tribe and build a refugee camp. Do you know what the consequences will be if the upper echelons of the Chongqing denomination find out? Jiang Tian asked with a smile. I know. Annihilation of the entire sect. Not even a chicken or dog. But so what? Mao Bohu said with a determined look. I'll give you these 1,000 protective jade talismans. They can defend against Foundation establishment experts. Jiang Tian took out many protective jade talismans and nodded satisfactorily. Brother Bohu, although your cultivation level is not as high as mine, I admire your courage, decisiveness, and loyalty. After this matter is resolved, I will not treat you unfairly. Fellow Grand Primordium, I'm fighting alongside you because I admire your pursuit and ideals, not because of benefits. Mao Bohu said with a smile. Jiang Tian nodded slightly and said, Red Butterfly, keep your father company. After which he left. Big brother Jiang, have a good rest. Mao Hongdai stood there, waving her hand until Jiang Tian's figure disappeared. Then she slowly retracted her hand. At this time, thinking of her anxiety at the banquet, Mao Hongdia's eyes were a little lost. Especially when she saw Fairy Luo Mei taking care of Jiang Tian. She even felt a little jealous. Could it be that I've fallen for big brother Jiang? She had heard that he was a married man. The little girl's mind was in a mess. The next morning, Fairy Luo Mei and Fan Xiuzhu arrived early in the morning with 2 carriages. Fairy Luo Mei brought the guard and candidate disciple uniforms of the Chongqing sect for Jiang Tian, and the others to change into. This operation, Jiang Tian was the candidate disciple chosen by Fairy Luo Mei, and the others entered the Chongqing sect as guards. Jiang Tian planned to directly kill the sect master of the Chongqing sect, Ming Rui, and change the world from top to bottom. After changing, Jiang Tian and the others took Mao Hongdai and Mao Billion to the carriages. The 2 carriages rose into the sky. One of them was for Fairy Luo Mei and Jiang Tian. The other one was for Mao Billion, Fan Xiuzhu, the sacred children, the saintesses and the guards. The carriage surged with auspicious splendor as it rose into the sky. The white swan flapped its wings and soared into the sky. In the blink of an eye, it had flown several kilometers away from the city lord manor. Everyone saw that Mao Bohu was still standing in the same place, waving at them with a worried face. The parents of the other sacred children and saintesses were overjoyed and cheered. They were so excited that tears were streaming down their faces. Only a few people know the truth of body possession like Mao Bohu. Most people think that their children have become immortals after being chosen as sacred children and saintesses and joining the Changshan sect. Fairy Luo Mei looked away and smiled bitterly. Don't you have a conscience for deceiving mortals and taking their bodies? Tang Linglong asked angrily. Sigh, if I knew that the Changshan sect was like this, I wouldn't have joined. But once I join, I won't have the chance to choose again. Fairy Luo Mei looked ashamed and sighed. The Changshan sect has strict rules. There are many disciples and believers in the sect and their intelligence network is very powerful. If you want to leave, you will die. Once you join the Changshan sect, you will lose your conscience. People with a conscience can't live in the Changshan sect. Tang Linglong's eyes were burning with fury. She gritted her teeth and said coldly, when we get to the Changshan sect, I'll kill them all. Chapter 11:20. Soon they left lush forest city. The white Wuan carriage was very fast, covering 1,000 miles in a day. Fairy Luo Mei did not stop at any of the cities they passed. They were already out of the Cloud Mist Kingdom in the evening. Senior Grand Primordium, this is Skylight Kingdom. Past Skylight Kingdom is Longevity Mountain. The Longevity sect is on Longevity Mountain. Fairy Luo Mei said. As soon as they entered Skylight Kingdom, Jiang Tian found that the spiritual qi here was thicker, and the city was more prosperous. The sun set, and the stars filled the sky. The white Wuan flapped its wings, and the carriage took to the skies. It was like a rainbow, crossing mountains and rivers, traveling through the night. Suddenly, Jiang Tian's immortal perception sensed shouts. He raised a hand. Wait! The white Wuan flew 1,000 meters in the air, and looked down. In the forest, a small team of cultivators rode on spiritual beasts, holding long knives and torches. They were chasing a group of yellow-skinned, black-eyed Yanhuang tribe members. Kill! Kill all the Yanhuang tribe members. Kill all these ants. They must be Kong Teichu's spies here. Carry out the cleansing policy. Leave no one alive. Kill them all. The small team of cultivators was very fast. 3 foundation establishment experts led the way, and the rest were qi refining experts. They were very fast, and the spiritual beasts were hundreds of meters away. Their scimitars slashed, and blood flowed. Screams stopped abruptly, and heads flew. Under their pursuit, thousands of Yanhuang tribe members fled like stray dogs, crying for their parents. It was a wretched sight. In the blink of an eye, a dozen cultivators had the Yanhuang tribe members surrounded. The Yanhuang tribe members were shaking in fear, completely defenseless. They were lambs waiting to be slaughtered. The leader, a dark-faced foundation establishment cultivator, said happily, "Don't kill them. These people will be good food for the longevity sect." It was just that the harvest this time wasn't too good. I wonder if the immortals will be angry. The cultivators took out ropes, tying their hands behind their backs, holding them like animals. Yellow Valley is the name of the Yanhuang tribe here. The Changshan denomination and the nearby cultivation sects treated them as food. Attacking Huanggu means kidnapping these Yanhuang tribe members. Mao Hongdai said with a frown, her eyes burning with anger. Jiang Tian frowned and glared at Fairy Luo Mei, but he didn't say anything. Senior Grand Primordium. You should know that I have already ordered all the major cities and sects of the Cloud Mist Nation to stop pursuing the Yanhuang tribe. When she met Jiang Tian's cold gaze, Fairy Luo Mei's body trembled uncontrollably. Her face was pale, and she lowered her head. These people are not my subordinates. This is not my territory. They are not from the Changshan sect either. Since when did these Wuxia people get to bully us? Tang Linglong was filled with righteous indignation. She gritted her teeth and her right hand, which was holding the blazing bone sword case, trembled nonstop. On Earth, Wuxia was already one of the largest countries and the largest economy in the world. Even the United States did not dare to act rashly now. The people of Wuxia were full of self-confidence. They loved their country and their home. They were united and worked hard for the road to prosperity. But they did not expect that in this world, their own people would be bullied like animals. Another curly-haired foundation establishment leader on the mountain said, although there are not many yellow valleys, there are a few female yellow valleys who are quite pretty. They are fair, smooth, and full of life. I think the immortals of the Changshan denomination will like them. They can be female slaves or something. Maybe the immortals will be happy and give us a lot of rewards. Maybe they will even give us life-prolonging cultivation methods. The Blackface Foundation establishment cultivator shook his head and said, it's still too little. I think we should attack the yellow valleys again in a month. Another foundation establishment leader said gloomily, it's a pity that these yellow valleys are very smart. When they heard the news, they ran away. If we want to attack the yellow valleys again, we have to wait for another month until they let down their guard. Hearing this, Jiang Tian's face turned cold. He said coldly, Linglong, go down and kill them. Yes. Tang Linglong, who was already full of killing intent, stepped on the flying sword and floated down. Li Wuji was uneasy. He forced a smile and said, Taichu, why do you have to make trouble? If we are exposed in advance, the plan to kill the Changshan denomination's leader may be delayed. Human life is greater than the sky, Jiang Tian said calmly. Yi Karen and Lady Wu did not say a word. They opened the door of the carriage and jumped down. Li Wuji was embarrassed. Even Fan Xiuzhu and Mao Hongdai jumped down. All of a sudden, at the foot of the mountain, a Yan Huang woman was holding a baby in her arms and crying. Good baby, don't cry. The woman was anxious in her heart, but her face was full of love as she gently coaxed him. Son, are you hungry? Drink milk. Don't be afraid, don't be afraid. Mother is here. This woman was speaking Chinese, which Jiang Tian was most familiar with. In this world, most of the people were ancient Indians. They were the mainstream. Jiang Tian and the others had been speaking ancient Sanskrit all this time, and they were also listening to ancient Sanskrit. This was the first time Jiang Tian and the others had heard Chinese since coming to this world. Cry, what are you crying for? You're wailing. A cultivator was annoyed. He grabbed the child and threw him to the ground. The child screamed, bleeding from his orifices. He twitched violently and died. Cry, cry, cry. You only know how to cry. So annoying. The murderous cultivator was not satisfied. He stomped down, and the baby's intestines burst. Son. My son. Why did you kill him? He was just a child. The Yan Huang woman suddenly screamed. She rushed over and hugged the corpse of the child, kissing and caressing it. Yellow-skinned monkey so weak. You only know how to cry. This little girl is crying like a pear blossom in the rain. She's still breastfeeding. Her butt is big and round. Quite tempting. Let me have a go. The Yan Huang people are like pigs and dogs. Even the brothels don't want them. Even if they do, they won't have any customers. You actually went to bed a pig. Don't you think it's dirty? The cultivators put their hands on their hips and laughed heartily. They were very happy. Tang Linglong, if another Yan Huang person dies, don't see me again. Seeing this, Jiang Tian's chest burned with anger. His eyes were cold. He had lived 2 lives and had killed many people. He had seen many cruel things, but this was the first time he had seen someone kill a baby for fun. However, Tang Linglong and the others had already gone down. Jiang Tian wanted to train them, so he did not do anything. Actually, Tang Linglong already hated this group of people to the core. Now that they had killed people and caused her to be reprimanded by her master, she was even more annoyed. She was simply fuming with rage, and smoke was coming out of her 7 orifices. They don't have a chance. Tang Linglong roared. She slapped the blazing spine sword case at her waist, and the blazing bone swords burst forth. Chi, chi. Numerous bone swords rained down from the sky, containing the power of flames. The light was blazing, and the temperature was 10,000 degrees Celsius, instantly piercing through 23 cultivators. Kacha. None of the 20-odd cultivators could withstand it. They died a violent death, turning to ash. How dare you? Huanggu is less than an ant, and you dare to act rashly. Seeing Tang Linglong attack, the dark-faced cultivator was enraged. He roared, his vital chi exploding. They're wearing the uniform of the longevity sect. Immortals we are. One of the cultivators exclaimed, wanting to explain. Immortals of the longevity sect. Your disciple is the deputy sect leader of the longevity sect. We are here on the orders of the Skylight Kingdom's special envoy. The dark-faced cultivator also noticed this and was stunned. He gathered his vital chi, but didn't release it. Suddenly, the two shiny blades on his back slashed horizontally and vertically. Waves of blood gushed out. The body of the dark-faced Foundation Establishment cultivator fell to the ground in pieces. Lady Wu walked out, covered in blood. She stepped on his head and leaped out, her two blades sweeping, and flew towards another Foundation Establishment cultivator. 3 minutes later, dozens of cultivators of the longevity sect were all killed by Tang Linglong and the others. The ground was littered with corpses. You're from the Yanhuang tribe? Why did you join the longevity sect and save us? A fleeing Yanhuang tribe elder came forward and bowed respectfully to the three of them. He couldn't believe it. Run! Run to the Cloud Mist Kingdom, and go to Malin City. Take this token, and no one will kill you. But don't tell anyone about what happened today. Fairy Luo Mei said gently as she landed and handed them a token. Understood, understood. This old man understands. Thank you, fairies, for saving us. The elder was deeply grateful and quickly kowtowed 3 times and 9 times. Fairy Luo Mei was shocked and quickly helped him up. Don't kneel. Tang Linglong put away the blazing bone sword and shouted. The longevity sect isn't made up of fairies and immortals. You aren't Huanggu blood food. They aren't worth your kneeling. We aren't worth your kneeling. This group of Yanhuang tribe members was anxious and didn't dare to answer. You can go now. Don't worry. Very soon no one in this world will be able to bully you. Yi Karen's pretty face was as calm as a lake, but her heart was like thunder that kept exploding. She couldn't keep calm anymore. In fact, before this, the disciples of the Kunlun sect had always looked down on Kong Teichu and the whole Tianqing school. Shouldn't cultivators live in seclusion in the famous mountains and rivers, like immortals, eating the wind and drinking the dew, transcending the mortal world, and living in peace and tranquility? They weren't like Jiang Taichu, who killed people and annihilated clans at the drop of a hat. He was ferocious, and he sought fame and fortune. He went on expeditions and plundered everywhere, and he repeatedly set off a storm of blood that caused the entire earth to be in chaos and restless. In their eyes, Kong Teichu and the Tianqing school were too grassroots, too worldly, too tacky. But now she understood why Jiang Tian was like that. In this world, there were too many unjust things, too many unjust fates, and the strong should raise their eyebrows and unsheathe their swords and wipe them out. How could they ignore it? What was the strong? Before this, Yi Karen had been thinking about this question, and now she had an answer. At least, it was an answer that belonged to her. The real strong didn't look at how strong your cultivation was, how many strong people you defeated, how famous you were, how high your status and power were. But those who dared to fight against the unjust world were the strong. Chapter 11:21. In that instant, Yi Karen's blood was boiling, and she felt a sense of duty and glory. Experts from other realms were not that great after all. As long as you were strong enough, you could kill them all the same. She looked in the direction of the longevity sect, her eyes resolute. This time, I will not only kill these evil cultivators from other realms who dare to bully the Yanhuang tribe, but also destroy the longevity sect. I will cleanse this filthy world, and restore the Yanhuang tribe to their former glory. I will also kill the experts from the ruins of immortality. These Yanhuang tribe members fled towards the Misty Cloud Kingdom in the north. Tang Linglong and the others also boarded the carriage, heading towards Longevity Mountain once more. Jiang Tian raised an eyebrow, saying coldly, "Where does the longevity sect envoy reside?" "In Peach Blossom City," Fairy Luo Mei said fearfully. "Senior Absolute Primordium, are you going to kill them? If that's the case, we might be exposed." "Of course," Jiang Tian laughed. "So what if we are exposed? Mingrui is just a Jindan cultivator. I can kill her all the same, but I don't want to see the Yanhuang tribe slaughtered by them again, chased down like pigs and dogs. As the saying goes, A little impatience spoils great plans. Li Wuji's eyes were frantic, and he hurriedly waved his hands. Dao friend absolute primordium, don't lose sight of the big picture for the small. Why should you care about the lives of a few commoners? Senior absolute primordium, although the sect leader is said to be at the late Jindan stage, she is no weaker than a nascent soul cultivator. Fairy Luomei's face was full of fear. If you ambush her, your chances of winning are only 50-50. If you face her head-on, your chances are slim. Know your place. Carriage driver. Don't talk nonsense, just drive over. Jiang Tian laughed. Fairy Luomei was hit hard by Jiang Tian's words. Her face flushed red, and she urged the White Luan to fly towards Peach Blossom City. Peach Blossom City was the capital of Skylight Kingdom. It was a huge city, and 10 times larger than Lush Forest City. This place was filled with tall buildings and brightly lit buildings. There was a large population and flourishing businesses. Even though it was late at night, it was still bustling with noise and excitement. The residence of the special envoy of the Changshan sect in Tianlang State was twice the size of the city leader's residence. It occupied an area of 1,000 square meters with continuous palaces and towering towers. The ground was paved with white jade, making it look like a godly realm. At this time, in a hall of the mansion, a young special envoy in a bright yellow robe sat on the stage with a strict aura. He was drinking merrily with the various sects, gang leaders, and officials of Skylight, celebrating his achievement in hunting down the Yanhuang tribe. Everyone has worked hard. In these 3 months, we have killed 30,000 Yanhuang tribe members and captured 70,000 alive. You have done well. Let this special envoy be rewarded by the sect. I will bestow spirit herbs and spirit medicines to express my gratitude. The special envoy was already at the middle stage of the Golden Core realm. There were also many disciples of the Changshan sect standing around him. All of them were Foundation establishment cultivators. Any one of them would be able to cause chaos on Earth and frighten the superpowers. There were even 2 Golden Core experts. One of his subordinates took out exquisite jade boxes and distributed them. Everyone was in high spirits. It's the resurrection grass. I heard that if you take it when your life is in danger, you can extend your lifespan by 10 years. Haha, those Yanhuang tribe members couldn't even withstand a single blow. This is easy money. Yeah, we'll kill another 10,000 Yanhuang tribe members to repay the special envoy's reward. Everyone was drunk to the point their eyes were hazy, and they were extremely excited. They were filled with lofty sentiments as they patted their chests one after another to express their loyalty. I heard that Kong Teichu from Earth is also a Yanhuang tribe member. He should be about the same. Weak? That's right. They relied on their cannons and immortal treasures to defeat the dragon-slamming monk and the others. If that little swine dares to come to this world, there is no need for the special envoy to act. I will teach him a lesson and stomp him under my feet. It was unknown which sect master mentioned Jiang Taichu, but immediately everyone revealed looks of disdain and commented on him as if he was an ant. At this moment, a black soul devourer appeared above everyone's heads. It was swirling around like a dark cloud. The soul devourer silently split into 2, 2 into 4, 4 into 8. More and more of them appeared. There were a total of 120 people in the hall. In the blink of an eye, the soul devourer had split into 120 strands of soul devourer. Then with a whoosh, it drilled into the minds of these people. What is this? Is it devouring my immortal consciousness? The special envoy of the Changshan sect suddenly trembled and twitched. He pulled his hair in pain and rolled on the ground. His eyes turned white. Soon, his eyes suddenly turned completely black. His pupils were like black crystals, incomparably demonic and evil. Kill. He suddenly stood up. His eyes turned vicious as he slashed at the people around him. At the same time, the other powerhouses didn't say anything and attacked the others in unison as if they had gone mad. Bang! Bang! Violent sounds of collisions rang out, and the hall was filled with horrifying sounds of fighting. There were sharp sounds of weapons cutting flesh, explosions of divine arts, and miserable shrieks. Blood splattered on the window paper like red plum blossoms. Heads and limbs flew everywhere and fell outside the door. This place instantly turned into hell. After about 10 minutes, the place was quiet again. Only the special envoy was left standing on the blood-stained steps. Special envoy, how did this happen? A guard stuck his head out and walked in. He was scared out of his wits and asked in a panic. Chi. His head was pierced by a long saber, and his body was brought in. Pass down my order. All sects and forces in Skylight Nation are to stop hunting the Yanhuang tribe. The special envoy walked out, covered in blood. His black crystal eyes were cold and emotionless. Yes. Special envoy. A guard responded from afar in the darkness. Streaks of black soul devourers floated out from the heads of the corpses in the hall, shooting towards the treasure carriage where Jiang Tian was in the depths of the clouds. The golden lake in Jiang Tian's forehead flashed and collected the soul devourers. He said calmly, "Let's go. Anyone who disturbs the pursuit of Yanhuang tribe members will be killed without mercy." Yes. Tang Linglong and the others answered in unison. Is the special envoy controlled by senior absolute primordium soul devourers? He's like a walking corpse. The treasured carriage left the place without a sound. Fairy Luo Mei was scared out of her wits, her face as pale as paper. Once controlled, she would not recognize anyone, and was completely under Jiang Tian's control. This was a fate worse than death. When Jiang Tian and the others were rushing towards the longevity sect, rescuing the Yanhuang tribe along the way. Longevity Mountain Longevity Sect. Inside a majestic palace. What? Beast Thunder is dead? Who did it? Was it that little bastard Prince Mo Yang? A tall old man with a domineering aura slowly opened his eyes, and a trace of anger appeared on his face. As he opened his eyes, bolts of lightning appeared in the void and a surge of bloodthirsty aura flowed out. Even if Crown Prince Mo Yang could suppress Cholet, he wouldn't dare to kill him. Isn't he afraid that I, Beast Thunder, will destroy the Cloud Mist Nation with one strike? The old man's anger burned the sky. His angry roar was like rolling thunder, and a mountain-like pressure descended. It shocked the deacons around him to the point that their expressions changed drastically, and their bodies were on the verge of collapsing. These deacons were all wearing the golden uniform of the longevity sect, which proved that they were inner-sect elites. Their cultivation levels were all in the later stages of the Foundation Establishment realm, and there were even a few Hall Masters in the early and middle stages of the Golden Core realm. In the Earth world, they could defeat armies, shock the big countries, and control a country or a sect. Even in the mortal kingdoms and cities of the West Earth world, they could take on important positions such as city lords or state preceptors. They could laugh at the nobles and had a revered status. But at this moment, they bowed slightly and stood around the elder. They did not even dare to breathe loudly, as if they were looking at a god. Elder Rahai, please. The killer was not Prince Mo Yang, but a newly rising expert in Malin City of the Cloud Mist Nation. His name is Star Butcher. The leading deacon was in the early stages of the Golden Core realm, but he was silent and cautious. He looked at the elder as if he was looking at a god. Beast Thunder, the former sect leader of the Beast Control sect, one of the 4 guest elders of the Longevity sect, was in the late stages of the Golden Core realm. He was a veteran Golden Core realm cultivator with great strength, but he could control the blood essence of mutated beasts. Once he activated it, the mutated beasts were like thousands of soldiers and horses. His strength was comparable to a nascent soul realm cultivator. In the past, Beast Thunder was on par with the Longevity sect leader Ming Rui. Chapter 1122. However, 200 years ago, Ming Rui's cultivation had improved greatly. He swept across the north with his sword, defeated Shouruhai, and suppressed the beast-controlling sect. In order to preserve the descendants of the beast-controlling sect, Shouruhai had no choice but to submit to the Longevity sect's leader and join the Longevity sect. However, even after joining the Longevity sect, his reputation did not diminish at all. A Golden Core expert was someone who could establish a sect. Moreover, he was a veteran Golden Core expert. In the Longevity sect in the north, among the many experts, he could be ranked in the top 5, or even the top 3. And he was also the biggest backer of the beast-controlling sect. Otherwise, How would Shou Ruhai dare to compete with Yunlan Nation's Crown Prince Mo Yang and participate in the Golden Lotus Platform's preaching ceremony? How could a martial arts sect like the beast-controlling sect survive and develop for so long under the imperial power? Malan City? What kind of orthodoxy is there? How could someone kill Shou Lei, who was at the peak of the Foundation establishment realm? Could it be an expert from the residence of Prodigy? Shou Ruhai was puzzled and angry. It's not the residence of Prodigy. This person not only killed Shou Lei, but also killed many people, including Crown Prince Mo Yang's subordinate, Yun Yi. Moreover, according to my investigation, he is a Yanhuang tribesman. The deacon's face was filled with panic as he trembled. A veteran Golden Core expert, and a guest elder of the longevity sect. What kind of person was he? He was like a dragon from the 9 heavens. Once angered, blood would flow for 1,000 miles. With one palm, he could crush a city. Now that Shou Ruhai was furious, killing an early Golden Core expert like him would be like crushing an ant. The deacon could not help but feel uneasy. Yanhuang tribesmen? Just a bunch of weaklings. Without an expert, how could he reach the Foundation establishment realm? Shou Ruhai squinted his eyes and said fiercely. Moreover, the longevity sect has already announced the order to exterminate the Yanhuang tribesmen. Everyone has the right to kill him. How could Fairy Luomei, who is in charge of the personal disciple selection, let him go? She should swarm him and chop him into pieces. Not only did Fairy Luomei not kill him, she even listed him as a candidate for personal disciple and sent him to the sect. The deacon said anxiously. What? Hearing this, Shou Ruhai couldn't believe his ears. Fan Luomei, this little girl, used to bow to me when she saw me. She called me senior and Lord Elder, like a little bitch seeing her master. I didn't expect that she would dare to do such a thing for me. Does she think that I, as a guest elder, am useless? Is there no way to kill her? Shou Ruhai roared angrily. The temple, which could withstand the explosive attack of a Golden Core realm cultivator, almost exploded. Many Foundation establishment realm cultivators turned pale from the shock. Lord Elder, as long as you give the order, I'll immediately lead a group of experts to intercept and kill them. Let Xingtu and Fan Luomei become wandering ghosts. A hall master of the middle stage Gold Core hall master stepped forward and said in a deep voice. Every organization was divided into factions. This hall master's name was Meng Fan, and he was the backbone of Beast Rushai's faction. No, Shou Ruhai waved his hand. His bloodthirsty eyes shot out a fierce killing intent, like a prehistoric beast that was about to devour its prey. He gnashed his teeth and said in a cold voice. The Beast family and the Beast Trainer sect spent decades of effort and countless heavenly treasures to nurture my grandson to the perfected Foundation establishment realm and reach the Golden Core realm. But this Xingtu, a nobody from the Yanhuang country, dared to kill my grandson. I'll wait for him to come to the sect. I want to see him cut into pieces with my own eyes. I'll extract his soul and burn it 10,000 times. By the way, help me contact Elder Feng Nushan. Wasn't his descendant, Feng Batian, also killed by this Xingtu? Shou Ruhai gradually calmed down. He snorted and said disdainfully, Guest elders, I'd like to see how Xingtu and Fan Luomei can withstand the pressure of 2 mountains. I'd like to see how they can withstand my anger. Yes. The deacons' faces turned cold, and they hurriedly agreed. They thought to themselves, this star butcher is really unlucky. He thought that joining the Changshan sect was a great blessing, but he didn't know that the Changshan sect would be his burial ground. Some people were mocking him. Although this Xingtu was strong, he was probably a frog at the bottom of a well and knew nothing about the Changshan sect. Although the disciple selection was said to be a battle of life and death, everyone would ask about the opponent's background. If the opponent had a great trump card and you killed him, his backer would come for revenge. Then you would be dead. Especially when Shou Lei and Feng Batian had great trump cards. They were the former sect masters, veteran Golden Core cultivators, and now guest elders. Most likely he would be deader than dead. Even Fairy Luomei would be severely affected by it. Pust. Blood splattered, and the screams stopped. Flying swords pierced through their chests. More than 30 cultivators fell to the ground or fell from the flying beasts. The medium-sized sect, amongst the Cloud sect, had sent a small team of over 100 qi refining and foundation establishment cultivators to hunt down the Yanhuang tribe. Many flying swords turned into silver needles and fell into Jiang Tian's sky-devouring demonic gourd. Jiang Tian sat in the white Luan treasure carriage, his face as calm as water. He looked at the spiritual qi recovery seed he had taken from the stellar sky domain and asked, "Fan Luomei, is what you said true? How would I dare to lie? There are indeed 4 spiritual qi recovery seeds similar to Senior Tai Chu's in the Changshan sect's treasure vault." Fairy Luomei said in a panic, "But the aura seems to be thicker and more powerful. Also, it's much bigger. Before I became the special envoy, I was the guardian of the treasure vault for 3 years. I saw it with my own eyes. If it's true, you have contributed greatly. I'll help you become an elder later." Jiang Tian put away the spiritual qi recovery seed and smiled. "It's really a case of searching high and low for something, only to find it by chance. If it's really as big as you said, it's very likely to be a shocking seed. It's enough for me to set up the 9 Dragon Spirit Attraction Array and destroy the stars. Thank you, Senior Tai Chu." Fan Luomei thanked him sincerely, but there was no joy in her heart. Instead, she felt uneasy. They were nothing more than empty promises. Going to the longevity sect was like going to his death. A few days later, Jiang Tian and the others arrived at the longevity mountain, the Changshan sect. Immortal mountains floated in the air, covering a radius of 100 miles. Above the immortal mountain, clouds were rising and rosy, a myriad of auspicious colors, and a myriad of rays of multicolored light. Numerous exquisitely shaped palaces were concealed within it. The waterfall cascaded down like a white waterfall, and the spirit spring tinkled as it flowed past the bluestones. Giant trees towered into the sky, ancient vines coiled like dragons, and orchids swayed in the wind, accompanied by a riot of falling petals. This place could be said to be extraordinary, tranquil, and peaceful. It was like a paradise of immortals. The magnificent palaces were scattered in picturesque disorder, emitting endless divine light. The array waves were strong enough to withstand the attacks of Foundation establishment cultivators. Beams of divine light flashed across the sky, which were the disciples of the sect. Each beam of divine light represented a Foundation establishment cultivator. There were hundreds of miles of immortal mountains, palaces, and countless disciples. There were countless overlords, far more than any sect on Earth. It was indeed the 5th most powerful sect in the West Earth world. How majestic! Li Wuji took a deep breath and revealed an envious expression. Even though they were still under the immortal mountains, the spirit qi was 10 times denser than that of the Kunlun sect. "We're finally here, at the Changshan sect." A cold smile appeared on Jiang Tian's face. A cold light flashed in his eyes like a peerless heavenly sword. "This time, I'll trample Ming Rui and the entire Changshan sect under my feet. I'll declare to Ming Rui, the northern region, and the entire West Earth world that the Yanhuang people are not food for them to bully." Chapter 11:23. Jiang Tian and the rest arrived at the foot of the longevity mountain in a carriage. "Is Fairy Luomei back?" Suddenly, a 5-colored rainbow formed a bridge and descended from the top of the mountain. It stretched for 10 miles and stopped in front of Jiang Tian and the rest. On the rainbow stood a young cultivator with a cold and gloomy face. He clasped his fists and bowed. This person looked to be in his 30s, but his eyes were full of vicissitudes of life. He had already reached the early golden core stage. "This is the guard captain of the Changshan sect, Old Dragon Zhe. He is quite close to me. Don't be nervous." Seeing Li Wuji sweating, Fairy Luomei sent a message to him with her spiritual consciousness. She walked up and smiled. "I wish Elder Longwei a long and prosperous life. Luomei has brought back 13 holy children and holy daughters and a candidate disciple, Xing Tu. There are also a few inner and outer disciples. The candidate disciple, Xing Tu, is quite good. He has the combat power of an early golden core stage." She introduced Jiang Tian and praised him. "He seems to be from the Yanhuang tribe. Don't you know that our sect never accepts disciples from the Yanhuang tribe?" Long Zhe glanced at Jiang Tian with disdain. Then he looked at Fairy Luo Mei and said awkwardly, Fairy Luo Mei, I'm sorry. I can't let him in. Even if he gets past me, the sect leader will punish him when he finds out. Brother Long, we have been friends for so many years. Please do me a favor. I will explain to the sect leader. I have also gained a few things from this tour of the Yunnan country. Fairy Luo Mei's beautiful eyes looked at him. She smiled coquettishly and quietly handed over a spirit treasure armor. This spiritual treasure was priceless. When activated, it had a huge spiritual power and could withstand dozens of attacks from an expert in the late Golden Core stage. Fairy Luo Mei, the sect rules are strict. If the sect leader and the elders know about this, I can't afford to be punished. Long Zhe's eyes flashed with greed, but in the end, he shook his head and refused. An early-stage Jindan like Long Zhe had already transcended the mortal world. He didn't care about money and beautiful women. He didn't even care about a huge city. The only things that could tempt them were life-saving pills, supreme cultivation techniques, or magic tools and spirit treasures. With Long Zhe's cultivation level, he was simply invincible on Earth. However, in West Earth he was not considered a top expert. If he encountered a late-stage golden core, he would be killed in minutes. A superior-grade numinous treasure that could withstand the attacks of a golden core was an irresistible temptation to him. However, he actually refused. At this time Li Wuji, Yi Karen, and the others looked at each other. It seemed that the rules of the longevity sect were very strict, and the punishment was also very heavy. Don't be anxious, fellow Taoist Xingtu. Let me think of a way to contact the Elder of Impartation. Fairy Luo Mei looked slightly troubled as she looked at Jiang Tian. I'm afraid it's useless to contact him. A hint of disdain appeared on Long Zhe's face. He shook his head slightly and said arrogantly, The Yen Huang tribesmen are like ants. The sect will not waste resources on such trash, and the Elder of Impartation will not make an exception. Moreover, those who are not of our race will definitely have different intentions. The sect has been hunting down the Yen Huang tribesmen. If he enters, he might cause a great disaster. Moreover, fellow Taoist Xingtu has offended too many people. Once he enters, he will probably be crushed until nothing is left. He looked at Jiang Tian with disdain and said, Fairy Luo Mei, you're such a big brother. Fairy Luo Mei, you actually called me big brother. I'm just speaking the truth. This fellow Taoist Xingtu has no sense of propriety and has offended too many people. Once he goes in, I'm afraid he'll be completely crushed. Even you will be affected. What he said was the truth, but his eyes were arrogant and disdainful. His attitude was high and mighty, just like a leader facing the common people. No, it should be said that he was a white person looking at a black person. It was very unpleasant. You'd better let me in. Jiang Tian was irritated and his face darkened. He was about to attack and kill his way in. Kiki, is this the Xingtu? How arrogant. Looking at his attitude, he wants to barge into the sect. Suddenly, a mountain-like pressure came from the bottom of the mountain like waves crashing against the shore. A tall red figure with a domineering aura suddenly appeared. Disciple Long Zhe greets guest elder Shou Ruhai. Long Zhe was so frightened that his whole body trembled. He quickly went down on one knee and half-knelt before the figure with great respect. Even Fairy Luo Mei's expression changed drastically. She did not dare to be negligent and quickly bowed. Fan Luo Mei, the special envoy of the Chongqing sect to the Yunnan nation, greets Senior Shou Ruhai. This figure was only a soul avatar, but it was full of vigor and was very condensed. It was as though it was carved out of red agate and had substance. At the same time, the terrifying pressure was like a mountain, forcing martial demon Lady Fan Xiuzhu and the Mao Hongdai sisters to stagger back. Shou Ruhai, isn't this Shou Lei's grandfather? He's so powerful. It seems that even a soul avatar can crush a gold core realm expert. Mao Billian's face was as pale as paper. She could not help but vomit. She was extremely shocked and frightened. Shou Ruhai's soul avatar looked down at Jiang Tian as though he was looking at an ant. His blood-red eyes, which were as cold as a beast's, turned a few times and his gaze fell on Jiang Tian. He paused for a moment and then said, Long Zhe, I've already told the elder of imparting skills about the Xingtu situation. He is allowed to enter the sect. Yes. Longzhe hurriedly agreed. He glanced at Jiang Tian sympathetically from the corner of his eyes. Kid, do you think Shou Ruhai will let you go after killing Shou Lei? He is a guest elder and has a good relationship with the sect master, Ming Rui. He will definitely have a way to kill you. I told you to leave but you didn't. Now I'm afraid you won't have the chance to leave even if you want to. Xingtu, I've heard a lot about you. Shou Ruhai's soul avatar laughed strangely. He ground his molars and said in a cold voice, I've prepared a gift for you. Enjoy it. I'm just afraid that your teeth are not good and will fall out. Oh, thank you, Elder Ruhai. Jiang Tian's face was calm. He sneered and said, I didn't expect Elder Ruhai to be so magnanimous after I killed your grandson. However, it's no wonder. I only used 2 moves to kill that useless grandson of yours. He left peacefully, and the fire burned brightly. Xingtu, don't be so arrogant. Shou Ruhai's soul avatar roared angrily. You think this old man can't do anything to you? This old man will play you to death, then detain your soul avatar, and use beasts to bite you 10,000 times. And everyone here. Scram! You dare to call yourself an old man in front of me? Old man. Without waiting for him to finish his nonsense, Jiang Tian stepped into the air. Vermilion bird true light fire gushed out from the bottom of his feet, and instantly burned Shou Ruhai's soul avatar to ashes. Aya. Isn't this Xingtu a little too arrogant? Seeing this, Longzhe's eyes almost popped out. In his eyes, Jiang Tian was already a dead man. You actually dared to attack Shou Ruhai's soul avatar and scold him. What awaits you is endless revenge. This senior Xingtu is indeed a talented person, but he's too sharp. He doesn't know the principle of hiding his strength and protecting himself. Even Mao Billion sighed. She was unwilling to talk to Jiang Tian. She took a few steps back and hid far away, as if she wanted to draw a line with Jiang Tian. Chapter 1124. Until now, Mao Billion still didn't know that Jiang Tian's real plan was to kill the longevity sect master. She didn't even know Jiang Tian's true identity. It couldn't be helped. A little girl like her was too weak. If she knew the truth, she would probably pee in her pants. Fan Luomei opened her mouth a few times and wanted to say something. But in the end, she could only sigh and say nothing. Now that Jiang Taichu was full of lice, he was no longer afraid of the itch. Anyway, he had already offended Shou Ruhai by killing Shou Lei, and there would be a fierce battle sooner or later. Was there a need to feign civility now? Was there any use in feigning civility? Ignoring everyone's shocked gazes, Jiang Tian put his hands behind his back and stepped onto the divine rainbow leisurely. The others also came back to their senses and followed. The godly rainbow swept across the sky as Jiang Tian and the others rode on the clouds. The white clouds, mountains and other sceneries flashed past their eyes rapidly. In just a few seconds, Jiang Tian and the others had landed in the 10,000-year mountain. Around them, the palaces were tall and majestic. They were sacred and emitted divine light with a majestic aura, as if they were the residences of immortals. Jiang Tian looked around. In each of the halls, there were elders preaching scriptures and teaching divine abilities and secret techniques. There were also elders investigating matters and verifying law enforcement. In the depths of the palace, there were guest elders. Their origins were mysterious, and their auras were gloomy. They were very low-key. The entire great sect seemed to be operating in an orderly manner. Their operations were smooth, and they were filled with talents. One by one, the disciples hurriedly passed by. When they saw Fairy Luomei and the others, they bowed and greeted them respectfully. However, Jiang Tian discovered that their eyes were filled with a wild and aggressive look, as if they were wild beasts that wanted to devour people. As the fifth orthodoxy in West Earth, Longevity sect was not as strong as Golden Rock Temple, but it was also extremely terrifying. Most of the disciples were above foundation establishment, and there were tens of thousands of them. The hall masters and elders had a certain status, and were basically at the Golden Core realm. Every single one of the numerous disciples was immaculately dressed. Their expressions were solemn and respectful, and their manners were strict. However, They all held their breaths and were extremely careful, not daring to speak loudly. Many of them looked very young, but their eyes were filled with the vicissitudes of life. It was unknown how long their lifespans were. These were all experts who had reincarnated once or more. He changsheng. In the end, the world still can't see through these two words. Jiang Tian opened his divine sense and used a secret technique. His eyes were focused and a wry smile appeared on his face. He could see that in the sea of consciousness of these reincarnated experts, besides the main soul, there were also a few dim souls that were struggling and wailing silently. His main soul was like a raging inferno, vigorous and powerful. This time, however, his soul was dim and lifeless, like a candle in the wind. It seemed like it would soon be extinguished, but it was unwilling to be annihilated. The Changshan sect's secret art of possession was already extraordinary. It could break the iron rule that cultivators could not possess a third body. However, it was still not a top-notch possession technique. It could not be compared to something as heaven-defying as the soul devourer. The more the believers tried to possess someone, the more difficult it would be to possess someone else's body. Even then, they would not be able to completely strip the original soul from the body. These secondary souls belonged to the bodies that had been possessed time and time again. They were unwilling to be annihilated, so they fought with the main soul for the body and complained about their atrocities. As a special envoy of a kingdom, Fairy Luo Mei's status in the sect was only inferior to the sect master, grand elder, vice sect master, elder and hall master. She had her own hall and courtyard, and it was used as a place of residence and cultivation. It was called Luo Mei Courtyard. There were also hundreds of servants, whose status was higher than that of a princess of a country. They immediately settled down and waited for the sect master of the Changshan sect. As soon as Jiang Tian settled down, he heard the violent sounds of fighting in the sky. He was slightly startled and looked up. The two foundation establishment cultivators leapt as if they were flying and clashed with each other. Sometimes they would leap into the clouds, and sometimes they would descend to the bottom of the valley. Their attacks were swift and fierce, and their moves were ever-changing. Sometimes they fought in close quarters, and sometimes they unleashed their secret arts from afar. They were extremely powerful. 3 seconds later, whoosh, bam. One of the cultivators succeeded and cut off his opponent's head with his saber. His divine soul was destroyed and he left with the body. Congratulations, senior brother. You killed your opponent and got the body. Many disciples went forward and congratulated him with a smile. Those are the 2 disciples. The one who died was known as the Fleeting Shadow Divine Leg. He's very powerful. Fairy Luo Mei walked to Jiang Tian's side with a smile on her face. She looked otherworldly and charming. The disciple who won has been coveting his divine leg for many years and challenged him many times. They've fought many times before, and he finally won this time. Coveting his divine leg? Tang Linglong suddenly thought of a possibility. She turned pale and sweat appeared on her forehead. Right. Sister Linglong is right. Fairy Luo Mei said calmly. The Changshan sect is not only good at possession, but also good at healing. They can reattach broken limbs and replace them with limbs and heads. I heard that 300 years ago, a grand elder once gathered the strongest parts of a dozen overlords and replaced them with their heads, limbs and organs. He finally reached the nascent soul level. After his divine body reached the phenomenal success level, he challenged the Golden Rock Temple's Buddha. They couldn't win for 3 days and 3 nights. In the end he died of exhaustion. I can't believe there's such an evil art in the world. When Tang Linglong heard this, she thought about it carefully and could not help but shudder. That's terrifying. Yi Karen and the martial demon lady's faces also turned pale. They had both fought and killed, and their hands were stained with blood. But this was the first time they had heard of such a cruel thing. It was 10 times more terrifying than possession. Li Wuji shook his head and said, Bastard! Bastard! It's against nature and the laws of heaven. It's unforgivable. Everyone, this is the 3 laws of Changshan. Fairy Luo Mei explained. In the eyes of the Changshan sect, cultivation isn't as simple as meditating. It's not as gentle as swallowing pills and absorbing spirit qi. It's a cruel battle, a fierce clash between iron and blood. Jiang Tian smiled and didn't say anything. His face was calm, but there was a hint of mockery in his eyes. Jiang Tian had seen too many of such arts in his previous life. Not to mention grafting the limbs of the same species. Jiang Tian had even seen many humans grafting the limbs, torsos, and organs of beasts and demons to strengthen themselves. In Jiang Tian's eyes, such arts weren't evil or righteous. If they were used to invade and bully the weak, they were evil. If they were used to defend against invaders and maintain peace, they were righteous. Jiang Tian didn't agree with such arts, not because they were cruel and unethical. Morality was too complicated. Jiang Tian didn't like to judge by morality, but by the pros and cons. Jiang Tian didn't agree with such arts because they weren't the strongest. They were even very primitive and had many disadvantages. Cultivators had to be confident, independent and strong. Their Dao heart had to be as firm as a rock, and they couldn't pin their hopes on external objects. Even if they obtained heavenly treasures, they had to refine them into their own true essence or carve them into their own Dharma treasures. In fact, in Jiang Tian's eyes, Dharma treasures were external objects. Jiang Tian didn't like to rely on Dharma treasures and Dharma weapons. Instead, he forged many divine bodies, strengthened his true essence and finally condensed a divine-grade golden core. Jiang Tian's path was to not rely on external objects and not be limited by them. He wanted to strengthen himself and be independent. To forge iron, one had to be strong. Dharma treasures and Dharma weapons could be taken away by others, but the divine body would always be one's. No matter how good a Dharma treasure was, it could only be used at will and be at the realm of controlling. However, Dharma treasures weren't your arms and fingers after all. This kind of cultivation method that allowed one to seize the body of an expert and replace one's own limbs and internal organs obviously meant that one had lost one's Taoist heart, that did not rely on external objects and boldly forge ahead. They seemed domineering and invincible, but their bones were filled with despair and inferiority. Their Tao heart had long been shattered. It was fine if they met an ordinary expert, but if they met a top expert, they would be crushed into sand in minutes. On this day, Fairy Luo Mei was very busy. She brought the holy children and holy daughters to the elder compound to report on her work, accept the assessment and rewards, pay respects to the hall masters of each hall, and entertain close friends. Her feet didn't touch the ground at all. However, Jiang Tian was at ease. In this palace, he meditated and cultivated silently. No one disturbed him. That night, Jiang Tian was meditating and cultivating. Suddenly, an earth-shattering roar came from outside the door. Outer sect odd job disciple, Feng Ao, challenges candidate direct disciple Xing Tu. If you have the guts, come out and accept your death. The roar was like rolling thunder, turning into sound waves that smashed down fiercely like heavy cannons. Suddenly, a gust of wind whistled in Luo Mei's courtyard. It was as if a level 18 hurricane had struck. The turbid waves in the pond surged to the sky, and the ground cracked into ravines. The towering trees collapsed into sawdust, the rockery and strange rocks rolled on the ground, and tiles flew everywhere. Chapter 1125. Fan Xiuzhu rushed in and said worriedly, "Senior Star Butcher, don't go out. They don't have good intentions." "No worries. Let's take a look first." Jiang Tian opened his eyes slowly, stood up, and walked out unhurriedly. Tang Linglong, Yi Karen, Li Wuji, and the others quickly followed. In the sky above the fallen plum courtyard, there were already a few experts standing. There were men, women, old and young, and they were all dressed differently. But all of them were strong and had extraordinary auras. At this time, they were all looking at Jiang Tian with mockery. "Wow. Challenging Star Butcher? This kid just became a candidate for a personal disciple, and he's already being challenged. This is going to be a good show." Outside the courtyard in the sky, there were hundreds of disciples standing on immortal treasures, looking up excitedly. This time, the entire Chongqing sect had selected close to 100 inner sect disciples. But in the northern region, there was only one personal disciple in each country. For countries, 4 in total. It could be said that the personal disciples were too eye-catching. Jiang Tian's background was unknown, and he was from the Yan Huang tribe. At the foot of the mountain, he had broken the soul of Shou Ruhai. Each and every one of these pieces of news was shocking, and there was no way to hide it. Everyone had long wanted to see how strong Jiang Tian was, and how he could become a personal disciple. "You are Star Butcher?" Seeing Jiang Tian come out, a person in the sky stood on the air, looking down on Jiang Tian as if he was looking at an ant. His nose was pointed to the sky, and he was filled with arrogance as he asked in disdain. This person looked to be in his 30s. He was handsome, and his green robes fluttered without wind. His aura was elegant, like a breeze. But in fact, this person's eyes were full of vicissitudes. He was already 300 years old, and his cultivation was strong. He was already at the middle Jindan realm. Such an appearance was merely a reversion to one's youth. And one's appearance would remain forever. Feng Ao, Windblade City Deputy City Lord, Middle Jindan Realm Cultivation. Fan Xiuzhu immediately understood. He communicated with Jiang Tian through spiritual awareness, and then with a mocking face he said loudly, "Feng Ao, you were originally the Vice City Lord of Windblade City. When did you become an outer court odd job disciple? You're not from the same sect, so naturally, Senior Xing Tu has no obligation to accept your challenge." Although Jiang Tian had killed many golden core cultivators in the backyard of the Fan family, Fan Xiuzhu had not seen it with his own eyes. At this moment, he did not have much confidence in Jiang Tian. Besides, Jiang Tian's goal was to kill the longevity sect's patriarch, Ming Rui. Before that, it was better to keep a low profile. Therefore, he did not wish for Jiang Tian to have another dispute and cause more problems. "I've just become the leader of the Outer Sanctum Law Enforcement Team. This is the token." Feng Ao took out a token and smiled sinisterly. The position of an inner disciple is higher than that of an outer disciple, according to the rules of the longevity sect. I am certainly qualified to challenge the leader's personal disciple. Hearing this, everyone smiled and began to discuss. The Feng clan is indeed shameless. In order to avenge Feng Baishan's death, they actually let the vice city lord of a big city, a middle-stage golden core cultivator, join the outer sanctum so that he is qualified to challenge Xing Tu. Yes, even if Xing Tu defeated Crown Prince Mo Yang and many other powerful cultivators, I'm afraid he is only an early-stage golden core cultivator, right? But this Feng Ao is a middle-stage golden core cultivator. Isn't this bullying? Many people said mockingly. The longevity sect encouraged each other to challenge each other. However, there was a rule that only those with lower positions could challenge those with higher positions. For example, an outer court disciple could challenge an inner court disciple. An ordinary inner court disciple could challenge an inner court elite disciple. An elite disciple could challenge a personal disciple. A personal disciple could challenge a hall leader or an elder, and so on. Golden core cultivators were like deities. They could be called perfected immortals. In the entire northern region, there were only a few dozen of them. In a country, there were only a few of them. They were as rare as phoenix feathers and unicorn horns. Every golden core perfected immortal controlled a country, a sect, or the leader of a clan. They had great power, enjoyed the worship of billions of people, and lived for almost 1,000 years. The Feng family obviously wanted Jiang Tian to die, or to force Jiang Tian out of the longevity sect. They didn't hesitate to let a middle-stage golden core vice city lord join the outer sanctum, so that he was qualified to challenge Jiang Tian. No. I sense that Xing Tu is only at the 4th level of the foundation establishment level. Maybe he has some Dharma treasures or elixirs that can quickly increase his combat power. But if he meets such an experienced middle-stage golden core cultivator, I'm afraid he will die. At this time, a young man in an ice bear robe and an octagonal ice jade crown said coldly in the audience. His face was as cold as an ice sculpture. Around him, there were a few young men who had reached the foundation establishment level, or the early-stage golden core level. They were like stars surrounding the moon. But those people were only his subordinates and companions. Apparently, his status was extraordinary. How is that possible? A foundation establishment cultivator killed a golden core cultivator. Someone in the crowd was confused and wanted to refute. Zen Master Wuxin and Yunyi, who had died on the Golden Lotus platform, were both golden core cultivators. But when the person who spoke took a closer look at the young man, he immediately stopped talking and bowed with fear in his eyes. The young man in the ice bear robe was the crown prince of the Ice Pole country, the most powerful of the 4 countries in the northern region, Jihan. He was also the most powerful person among the younger generation in the northern region. He was only 100 years old, but he had already reached the middle stage golden core level. He was more powerful than Crown Prince Mo Yang, and could talk with the Arhut of the Golden Rock Temple. This time, he was also the only direct disciple of the sect master in the Ice Pole country's election. How could the Crown Prince of Jihan be wrong about such a talented person? Middle stage foundation establishment level. He is as vulnerable as a 3-year-old when he meets a golden core cultivator. He will definitely die. Someone looked at Jiang Tian sympathetically, as if Jiang Tian was already a dead man, and murmured, "Who can you blame? A Yan Huang tribesman is like an ant in this world. Even if he has some strength, he should keep a low profile. Don't you know that the tallest tree in the forest will be destroyed by the wind?" The Crown Prince of Jihan sneered and said with a cold gaze. Originally, him being selected as a direct disciple was a joyous occasion. But he did not expect that the Yunlan nation would choose a Yan Huang tribesman to be on the same level as him. Many people thought that the direct disciple selection this time was too weak. If a Yan Huang tribesman could be selected, how weak would this batch of direct disciples be? This made him extremely unhappy. When he said this, the crowd nodded in agreement. The Yan Huang tribesman should have died long ago. Wasn't it a waste of resources to occupy a direct disciple spot? You, a mere middle-stage golden core cultivator, is like an ant. You are not qualified to challenge me. Jiang Tian's calm gaze swept across Feng Ao. Then he shook his head and said disdainfully, "I am not qualified to challenge you?" Feng Ao was so angry that he laughed. He looked at Jiang Tian as though he was looking at a fool and said in disbelief, "You are just a foundation establishment weakling. You actually think that I am not qualified to challenge you? I can kill you as easily as stepping on an ant." This Star Butcher is an interesting person. He knows that he is no match for Feng Ao, but he doesn't dare to accept the challenge and still wants to take advantage of Feng Ao. Interesting my ass. If he doesn't dare to fight, then he should kneel down and beg for mercy. What's the use of talking fast? Won't he anger Feng Ao? Everyone showed a look of disdain and laughed as they discussed. Don't you know that according to the sect rules, if you admit defeat, you have to give up your position and all the resources? Ice crystals and snowflakes danced in the air. The Crown Prince of Jihan was like an ice god. He stood proudly in the air with his arms crossed. His handsome face was as white as ice jade and he sneered. "Kiki, a Yan Huang tribesman can enter the longevity sect and become a direct disciple. How great is this opportunity? It can even be said that he is the hope of the entire Yan Huang tribesmen. How can he give up? Yes, you are not worthy." Ignoring the discussion of the crowd, Jiang Tian's eyes were calm. He looked at Feng Ao and said, "Ask your master Feng Duoshan to come out. Maybe he is worthy." "How dare you?" Feng Ao was flustered and exasperated. His expression changed drastically. The sound of wind whistling from his chest was deafening. "Feng Ao, don't fall into his trap." In the crowd, a muscular young man wearing a tight waistcoat made of scaled python skin took a step forward. This person had a head full of small braids. His whole body was covered in tattoos and paint. They were all pictures of wild beasts and poisonous insects. He was filled with a primitive and wild aura. He'd only taken a single step, yet instantly, the ghastly and bloodthirsty aura of a ferocious beast surged out like a torrential river. Raging waves slapped the shore, and its might was 10 times stronger than the beast's lightning, causing one's heart to palpitate. "I am the beast python. I am an outer sect servant disciple. I wonder if I have the qualifications to challenge you, Star Butcher." This muscular young man took off his eye patch. Instantly, a pair of bloodshot vertical pupils were revealed. They were shining with a demonic red light. His voice was like a poisonous tongue. "Beast Python, the current sect leader of the Imperial Beast sect. He actually came too. His trick is too deep. It's over. There is no escape. This Star Butcher is dead for sure." Everyone's expression changed drastically. They could not believe it. Even the Crown Prince of Jihan's expression changed slightly. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.